Good morning, everybody. If I can have you take your seats, please. We're going to begin shortly.
Good morning. Buenos días. Ya estamos acostumbrados que todo abre Claudia. Mil gracias a todos, a todas, a Claudia, a We All Humans, a Latinos por estar aquí hoy. Thinking which language should I speak today? But first what I want to say, we're here at the United Nations and esto es su casa. This is your house. If you feel that this is something that you can use, if you feel that we're sufficiently supportive, come back, use it, and just be as at home. We're very happy to see you here. Hispanic community, 60 million people, and all this energy which we felt yesterday, this is really something which is very, very necessary. Once again, many thanks to Well Humans to organizing all this movement, and many thanks to Claudia's energy for doing all that. Now, I'm also encouraged to see how well Human Foundation embrace the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. I think every time more in time we're thinking about different frameworks, and SDGs today is a framework. And that they were launched by the United Nations. They have this fantastic branding, and I think what we're encouraging you also to think about sustainability of Latinos in this country, sustainability of Latinos in the world, and think about SDGs and everything what you do. We also loved the Hispanic Star Ready to Shine initiative that was launched here at the United Nations. I think we're very proud to see it. And that's, I think, a great example how to encourage the leadership in your communities. So, but back to the SDGs. I think we also want to invite you to think about the next year to come. For us, it's a very important year. UN is going to be 75. Well, not a very young age, but time to think and somehow time to revitalize. So we're facing a very interesting challenge launched by the Secretary General, because what he said, don't think just about one event, about fireworks, about some things, some receptions. You can do all that, but as long as you're going to launch a world dialogue all around the world, not just about the past and what happened in 1405 and why UN was formed, but about the future that people want to have. And this is a direct link to all of you. So it's all about the future, and it's all about the young people, and it's all about what is the planet that you want to have, what is the world that you want to have, what are the rights that you want to have, what about health, what about education, what about all these things. And that should lead us in one way or another to the thinking on the one hand about history, what happens with multilateralism, we do believe in it, and back to the SDGs, because many of the things that we're talking today are within the SDGs. So this world dialogue, which we are trying to launch with multiple partners, and we would love to have you as a partner, and we would invite you to think also how in what you do to somehow entail this big idea. There is a website, you can easily find it, it's un.org/75. There is a communication strategy there, and particularly there is a very short questionnaire, just 3 questions. It's going to be developed a little bit more, and there is a way to join this dialogue through the events that you are carrying, but also through social media and through everything what you do. And I think the Latino voice is also a very, very important one within this world dialogue. Now, I mentioned a few times the SDGs, and I think what we feel here is there were Millennium Goals. Of course, they were very ambitious, but they were kind of UN Millennium Goals, and here is the world. But today we have SDGs, and I think the big success of the UN that SDGs are really known by everybody and really embraced by everyone. And there is a lot of discussion about sustainability in all spheres of the world. Also, you know our branding, you know our very colorful wheel, sort of a rainbow, not exactly a rainbow. You know the icons. And today, wherever I go in the private sector around the world, I just returned on Sunday from Japan, and I was really amazed because in every business stand of every company, SDGs are somehow present. But it's not just about being present. Take them, use them, think about what you do. It is very much about acting. Because actually when we think, it's all very nice, but there are only 10 years left to be achieving some results. So I think the Secretary General of the United Nations is moving us more and more to what we call decade of action. Let's see what and how we should be doing to move the world a little bit closer to the fulfillment of the SDGs. And that's, I think, our second invitation. What I wanted to also to say that let's think about every single part within those SDGs, and I think climate is something which is, again, very high up on our agenda. We know how climate change today influences migration, influences human rights, influences refugee, moves of people, influences access to food, to water, etc. Let's also think about it. Now we're in the middle of COP25, which is happening in Madrid. The COP26 is going to happen in Glasgow and in Edinburgh. And again, we're all living through the climate change. It's one of the major influences, and this is something very big priority for us, but maybe also linked to what you do. And back to Latinas, gender, and gender. We have a list of questions, and every time when I see this slide on PowerPoints, I think there will be a gift. The list is 10 countries which achieved gender equality. And every time you think, okay, now there will be some Nordic countries which are going to appear, but actually nothing appears because none of the countries in the world have achieved what we're expecting to be achieved on gender issues. How many Nobel laureates do we have today? About 66 or 68, while there are 866 male. And we all know all sorts of issues connected with gender, of course, different in the US and different in other countries, but keeping in mind that we're still very far from achieving what we would like. So the spirit of Latinas, very important to us. The energy of Latinas is very important to us. Please join what we do also on gender issues, and let's rely on all of you. So once again, welcome. Multilateral approach, I think that's what also we're offering you, and we hope you will embrace. UN 75, climate, SDGs, these are all the frameworks for you to be successful. And once again, welcome and be at home. Esto es su casa, and hope to see you again.
Thank you. I truly want to recognize and sink in what we just heard. The United Nations welcomes the Hispanic community here. Thank you so much. We will take the invitation to come back. Actually, next year, to celebrate, like a year that is super important for the Hispanic community, which is a year of election, a year of consolidation, but also to celebrate together with the United Nations your 75th anniversary. So if you invite us, we're back.
Yes, please be back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah. So it is my greatest pleasure to start the second day of this Hispanic Leadership Summit. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for devoting the time for our community. It is our destiny. It is our future. One of the things that we've been talking about is being in the places where we need to be the United Nations, be the World Economic Forum, being Cannes, talking to marketers, talking to CEOs, talking to different people. So I'm really glad that we had a welcome from SETA, from the United Nations. We also have to recognize the areas where we're not visible, and we need to be visible, and we need to be present. And one of them is tech. For us, Hispanics, we're 18% of the population, but only 1% of Latinas are in tech, less than 5% overall. We need to be in tech because the tech industry cannot survive without us, but we also need tech to advance. We cannot actually be left behind of that gap. And so it is a great pleasure for me to start this panel. But before kicking off the panel, I just want everybody to recognize the arrival of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's joining us today for this event. Let the panel begin.
Well, what a great start with such distinguished guests joining us. We're off to a fantastic day 2 of this summit. So buenos dias, everyone. Hope you're all rocking and excited and high energy levels, particularly as we get going on this conversation around Hispanics in tech. We have a distinguished panel. One of them is stuck in traffic, but fear not, he's on his way, so we'll just welcome him when he arrives, and we're just really eager to get stuck into this. I think a number of you were at the various regional summits that We Are All Human hosted around the country, and you wouldn't be surprised to learn that the sector that was voted the highest for the need of investment for the Latino and Hispanic community was science, technology, and maths education. So if we know that we have a lot of work to do during this conversation. We as a community have an education gap. We're not being trained, and we're not getting access to the jobs that we need to access the sector that is revolutionizing the world. I'm pretty much seeing that everyone has a mobile phone, and I'm seeing that you're all pretty clued up that this is important. We need to really be tackling this issue and tackling issues around how tech relates to all the conversations we had yesterday. I think every single panel that we discussed had a relationship with technology, be it financial inclusion, be it electoral participation, everything was very much linked. But we want to make this a kind of different type of panel. And we have some really great figures that Omar is going to share with us. So I'm just going to turn over to Omar and ask him to set the scene for us. Thank you, Omar.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here today. First of all, I want to address this idea of tech as a sector. And I want us to all really be comfortable from a business standpoint with the notion that in today's day and age, and certainly moving into the future, every business is a technology business. So that just adds to the urgency that we have as a community to make sure that we're addressing this issue and we're getting it right, number one. We've been talking a lot over the course of yesterday and today about data and making sure that we have the right data and that we are properly informed and that we're all pushing in the right direction with one single truth. And that's why we're really excited at HiTech to take a data-driven approach to how we get more Hispanics in technology. We are partnering with Cultural Intel. Lily Gill Valletta, I don't know if she's here, but some of the figures and the stats that you all have come from Lily's company. And we are in the process of, we will be releasing a report really soon, that highlights how Hispanics that are currently working in technology feel about their work environment, what are some of the challenges that they face, and what are some of the opportunities. Now, we're doing this because we want the data and we want to make sure that we're working towards the right things, but we're doing this not so much for those workers per se, but for the companies, because we want to make sure that those companies know how to build the right types of cultures to be able to attract and retain the type of talent that we know is good for them and for their companies. So first of all, we know that there are real challenges, that Hispanics that work in technology generally have a negative sentiment because of perceived discrimination, because of what they view as exclusive work cultures, and because of what they view as unsupportive environments, and because they feel that they lack personal growth. That's just the case. So let's put it out there and let's work towards solving that. Number two, Hispanics are looking for supportive work environments. Not surprisingly, especially given the fact that we heard yesterday that 76% of Hispanics say they can't be themselves. This is exactly why we're doing this. We want to help companies create better environments so that they can attract and retain the right types of talent. And then yesterday during the financial panel question, during the financial services panel, somebody asked the question. They said, do banks get it? I think if we think of business in general, does business get it? I would say that some companies do. And those companies that do and have done it well are seeing the economic benefits of the cultures that they're building, the inclusive cultures. They're seeing that already, and that's great. And we need to celebrate those companies and set them as examples for how to do this correctly. Second, I'd say like most want to get it right. They just don't know how. They're stuck with celebrations of crunchy tacos and bad margaritas, right? And so we want to help solve that. And then there's other companies that just, they don't know. And they're honest about it. And we appreciate that because we think that we can help them. The last couple sentiments, the third one is work-life balance. This idea of work-life balance, it's not as important to Hispanic workers in technology. That's not the thing that we're most talking about. And that, I think, attribute that to our hard work ethic, right? We're not afraid to take on those challenges. We're not afraid to work the long hours. And I think that that's something that we need to, so we always talk about, we have a really strong work ethic. Let's push that. Let's lead with that as we go and we talk to employers. And the fourth one that I'll mention, and then we'll get on with the panel, is Hispanic. We just want to work with really cool people. And this is what people, Hispanics that are working in technology are actively telling us, that what they love most about their jobs is, yes, the financial security, the opportunities, but that they get to build relationships and work with really smart, really talented, really driven, really innovative people. And that's, I think, something really special and something that we need to celebrate. So just some high-level points to set the stage and to set the conversation. Again, we're going to be releasing the study through High Tech in partnership with Cultural Intel, and I'm happy to make sure that everybody, and we'll work with Claudia to make sure that we disseminate those copies of those reports to everybody so that we can work to build a more inclusive environment.
Thanks so much, Omar. So very exciting that you gave us this preview of the kind of pre-release of the data, and we look forward to getting more of it. I was really struck by that point, your first point, that every business is a tech business. And I'd love to kind of now turn to Maria, because she and I have been having these great conversations about technology. And technology is not about technology's sake. I think technology has to be about how does it help build our communities? What answers does it have? Maria, your thoughts.
Thank you, Judith. So I want everybody to take a second to think about your future and think about how you want to live your future. How do you want your health to be treated? How you want your education? How do you envision living in communities? How do you envision travel, media? Basically, every aspect of your life, I want you to think about that future, because that's the future that the tech industry and beyond, like you said, Omar, is building. That's why it's so essential for us to be in those spaces, because literally the future is being built in those rooms. And if we are not in those rooms, guess what? We're not in the future. Our point of view is not being accounted for. Our necessities, our needs are not being taken care of. They're not being considered. Our culture and the way that we see life is not being considered. So tech is really something that goes throughout all the aspects of our lives. It is all-encompassing. When I think about what's being developed, when I think about the future that we want to live in, I always go back to what's happening now and who are the people determining that. So I think that you said, as you said, Omar, as you said, Judith, it is crucial for us to understand that when we think about our relationship with technology and how technology can help our community, it's really not one lane. It's not about our phones or social media. It's really about the important things, right? So it's necessary that when we look at medicine, for example, and people are developing how things are going to be treated, and they're developing the next diabetic drug, for example, our community, it's one that we know it's really high, for example, in diabetes. We need to be in that room so that we're considering how we live, the challenges that we have. Because I don't know about you, but I need my arroz con habichuelas every day, right? And I need my coquito. I'm Puerto Rican, so you probably guessed by now, and Navidad. And hey, I want those conversations to be had in those rooms so that the solutions include me, right? So I think that we need to shift our relationship with technology, and we need to shift how we think about technology. This is not something that it's about other people. This is about us because we live in this world. And then we need to use our power, our social power, our purchasing power, to influence those tech companies and beyond to notice us. If you're not providing solutions for us, then perhaps we need to go to your competitor, right? If you're not including us in the room, then perhaps we need to do a call out. And I think that there's a lot of organizations, we saw some of them here yesterday, like Unidos and LULAC and others like that are doing that. But we also, the power really is in numbers, and those numbers are about the individuals. So I will say we need to shift the mentality about how we think about tech. We need to make sure that we're in the room so the future includes us, and we need to exercise our power so that we can nudge these companies in the right direction and say, we're here, and either you pay attention to us or we direct ourselves elsewhere.
Amen to all of that. So just as a quick, and sorry, Josue does not look like Jesse on the slide, Jesse, but Josue Estrada from Salesforce is joining us in this panel, so delighted to welcome you, Jose. Thank you so much. I loved what you said, Maria, because it is about visibility, and it's about being listened to, and it's about being taken into account. So, Alvaro, we have some of the giants here. How are you as Microsoft doing this?
Well, thank you. Morning, everyone. Morning. And I think it's always humbling to listen to the opportunity and the challenges. And the way we kind of think about it is, in order for us to make a difference, you need to recognize that you have your own superpowers, but you need to work with people that have different superpowers and combine them for the greater good. This is not one company, one single effort. It will take the collective to make a difference. We believe that when you create virtuous cycles, that's how you drive systemic and scalable change. We're starting by working internally, changing the company culture, making progress in there, being sure that we can create that place where people can come and be themselves, bring their A game to work, use Microsoft as a platform to change the world and do on the world what they want to be done, have Latinos happy in the company with great careers that can create those role models that show people that it's possible, right? So that's one big part of work. Then reach out to the community and find the right partner organizations to go and portray these role models, bring our technology and the contributions we can bring through our own, IP, our own products, and our own talent, and help get the community to see the opportunity there, bring the skills, build those gaps, and get those people to come into the industry, either in the Microsoft partner ecosystem that is one of the biggest in the world, if not the biggest in the world, or in our own company, and create then that cycle that those people coming into work, being successful, will inspire more change. And that's how you create systemic change, so we believe. But you need to start somewhere. And again, one of the reasons why I'm here representing the company and representing our employee resource group is because we need all of you for us to make a difference. right? And we are less than perfect, but we're trying to make progress every time. And for us having the opportunity to learn and share is how do we collectively going to make us better.
I love that. I love the learn and share, and I love this notion of an ecosystem. I think that's just such an important kind of all-of approach that is just really helpful to think about. Sarah, Google is another giant that's here. What are your learnings? What can you share with us?
Thank you again for the invitation here, Claudia, for having this amazing event. And I think, I'm never more excited, empowered, and true believer in the power of this unified force that we all we've assembled here. So, but in terms of, as you said, it really does take a village. You cannot do it alone. And at Google, we found that we had to reach out to our partners who are those superpowers in their own nonprofit areas in terms of reaching at the core of our company, the employees at our company, and as well as understanding that we need to reach out to other corporations to understand how are they tackling this, what are their challenges. So what I would say at the core, there are three things that are really important. One is being vulnerable and admitting that there isn't perfection here, and it's okay that we are on a journey, and as long as we establish certain milestone markers, we can feel like we're progressing, because Rome wasn't built in a day, and as long as we agree that there are certain challenges, but if we understand, wait a second, if we just surmount this particular hill, we're going to get to the next one. And that's how we believe in making progress. So in terms of being vulnerable, what we did at Google was, and if you're not familiar, we have our diversity report, which we release publicly to show in the data what do the numbers look like across all of our ERG organizations. Every single employee on a global basis, not just the US, takes an annual Google Geist type of survey in which we actually are able to share feedback with the company. And then we're able to break that down by different consumer segments. And unfortunately, what we have found is that especially among Latino women in tech, they are probably at the lowest end of the spectrum in terms of employee satisfaction. So just having exposure to that type of data has really propelled us to think about different types of programs that we could establish, and especially with the Me Too movement. I think the Me Too movement was very much a white women's movement. And internally at Google, they found that we need to actually establish better mentorship and sponsorship. We need to create unbiased stereotyping, training, and make sure that that is actually pervasive across the company to systemically change the way people view each other and the way we give opportunity for folks in the organization. So vulnerability is one. Second thing, thinking about collaboration and thinking about advancing and investing in programs. So our Grow with Google, part of our operation, part of our Alphabet company, is really meant to develop education, develop skill training for anyone. And it really lives into our mission, which is organizing the world's information and making it universally accessible and useful. And that means we have to do it in multiple languages. We have to do it based on different socioeconomic status in the country, recognizing there is some polarization happening in the U.S. between the tech divide in certain geographic areas. So what we did was we established our first in Spanish Grow with Google program, in which we are delivering applied digital skills. That's really advancing, mini courses in Espanol for local businesses, for job seekers in a free learning environment. We also are offering IT support, professional certificates, which actually helps entry-level IT support jobs and facilitate and fuel that. Because we recognize 16% of the labor market right now are based on the Latino community, but more than half of people entering the workforce by 2025 will be Latino. So we have an imperative to focus on who the folks in our communities are going to fuel the growth, who are going to be the next innovators, and we have to make sure that we're giving education accessible to everyone. And we're also collaborating very closely with not only with our Google.org organization, in which we're investing in certain nonprofits, the Hispanic Federation, for instance. We're investing in 20 Latino-led or Latino serving nonprofits in the country. Google.org is also investing $5 million in education for Latino students that are really investing in computer science education. So what I would say is that, really understanding and embracing vulnerability and making sure that we're harnessing the data and using that to build the best programs and put action behind some of the challenges that we're seeing. Collaboration is key, making sure that that is at the heart of everything we're going to do. That is at the heart of our society. So that's where I think in tech especially, we have to break down those walls and make sure that we're thinking about advancing technology for all.
Amazing. That's so inspiring. Josue, you at Salesforce, Salesforce is a unique company. We all know the stories about, small and medium enterprises drive the economy, mom and pop shops, and you deal with that spectrum. So what are your fantastic lessons learned that you want to share with us?
Thank you here to be in this panel, by the way. I could look like a Jesse Martinez, so that's going to be my nickname going forward. I can tell you the Salesforce has been a tremendous company in advancing what we're calling right now democratization of software. And that's how actually Mark started. So Mark Benioff started a company trying to make software as a service. And that, back in the day, by the way, that was 20 years ago, it seemed like, oh, you're one of the crazy ones that are going to be thinking that this is going to go like that when everything was on premise. And nowadays, it's a little bit ubiquitous, working in the cloud, and everything is in the cloud. So what we are trying to do there is actually disrupting the next layer, which is how do we actually bring technology to everyone? And not means in the device, but actually from the workforce. And part of what we are chartered to do in Salesforce.org is to bring that barriers down and actually have access for people, or make it easier for people to have access to employment on their tech. And that is something that we're working very close in workforce development, by the way, and education. So those are the two major places where we're investing heavily. And one thing that if there's anything that I would like at least all of you to do is there are two things. We think that tech is so difficult to be in. Like, oh my God, it's only Silicon Valley people and all these guys that are only coding Silicon Valley, et cetera. Not true. It's absolutely not true. Now tech is actually going in many places and is remote. We are growing furthermore and faster outside of San Francisco, at least it's Salesforce, and in places that you wouldn't think that there's tech people there. And why is that? Because there's a shortage of talent. And there's a lot of wars. You're represented here with some of the largest tech companies, and we all compete with talent. And we're trying to look for talent in different places. So what I would like you to do is you will probably know somebody, as we all know that we're 11 years old on average, the Latinos, that are trying to get into tech, and they don't know how, and they don't know where to start. Ask them to go and search for jobs and apprenticeship jobs that are very easy to get. There are courses right now that you can, in 3 months, start to help, at least in Salesforce, you can start getting certified as fast as that. So it's a little bit of like the myth of this is not going to be possible. I know Microsoft has things like that. I know Google, Facebook, et cetera. We all do. And we all do have this to try to make this affordable and everywhere. Salesforce economy, as we're calling it, is going to probably bring around 5 million jobs in the next 5 years. And that is only the peripheral, not only people within Salesforce. So it's accessible. Ask and encourage Latinos to start looking for jobs there because they're thinking that the only place that they're going to make money is probably being a lawyer or an MD, which is not necessarily true anymore. And get them to start somewhere. And it's not that difficult. And I will do that with my own kids, so I can tell you it's not that difficult. So that's what I would try to do here.
Amazing. I love this being so action-oriented. We have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to just ask everyone here to, one thing that we all agreed when we were preparing for this panel is we want to be solution focused. We've got answers, we're a great group, we need to get these answers together. So working our way over from the end, one thing, you as an individual, what can you do, or what's your appeal to people, just as Josue just did?
I would say sponsorship. It takes just the one-to-one interaction. A lot of people talk about mentoring and doing kind of scaled mentoring, and you do your touch-ins every once in a while, but you need people who are going to pound their fist on that table for those individuals and represent them when they're not in the room. Because it's always the Latinos fighting for the Latinos. We need allyship, and we need sponsors who are going to actually say, I'm going to give back and pull this person up the way they've been able to succeed. So I think sponsorship is huge.
I would say a couple of things. First of all, your success is not the end, it's the beginning. Once you're successful, while you're in those rooms, make sure you're holding your companies accountable. Make sure that it's difficult, it's hard, but that you have a voice. There's many ways to get into that room. It's not just on a tech role. So let's start thinking about the tech ecosystem holistically, right? Yes, tech roles are important, and I want to see more people in those roles, but I also want to see more people in-house, in legal teams in tech, in policy teams in tech, in marketing teams in tech, because all those voices matter and account, and they all grow up to one ideal. So make sure that tech is for you. Whatever profession you have right now, whatever your skill set is, tech is for you. That notion is very important. It's not just for the people that are in the tech roles. And then the other thing I will say, once you're there, please hold that door open for others to come through. Extend that hand, take initiative. If you see some people, sometimes they don't feel comfortable coming to you, so make yourself available. Put a little note in your LinkedIn that you're okay mentoring, that you'll taking emails. Go to events and socialize, network, and don't do it just because you want to be successful, but because you want to help other people. Yes, companies, they have a lot to do, and they're doing a lot. We should be proud of a lot of companies because there are a lot of wins, right? We shouldn't just focus on what's not working. But us as individuals, there's so much exponential power that we have. Really harness that power, keep that door open, lend that hand, and change will come.
So I would say...
Can I just ask for one pause? Because we have Jesse, who has joined us. So we have Jesse and Jose.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My apologies. I had the most horrible car sharing experience.
But you made it.
I made it, and you guys have an amazing panel here, so I'm very proud of my colleagues. I knew you guys were in good hands. And so thank you for your time this morning. I think just understanding and piggyback on what they said is, what I tell my students and my entrepreneurs is that first step is showing up. A lot of people want to help. There's a lot of amazing resources, but we have to show up, right, as Latinos for all these events, whether if it's here, whether it's a tech summit, conference, and especially taking part of general market events because we need to represent. When I show up sometimes, they look at me and go, well, where's the rest of your community? And so, it hurts sometimes because I know that we do exist and that we are working on startups, we are working on companies, we are working on, learning, whether if it's coding, UX, UI, et cetera, but you have to show up and we have to represent, and then we also have to engage and ensure that we're asking for that support and also the access to resources. And so I know firsthand by being in Silicon Valley since '97 that people do want to support us. And so thank you.
Thank you so much. And before Omar starts, I want to make sure that everyone get your phone ready and get your LinkedIn app ready just as we wrap up the session. I just want to give people a heads up for that. Go ahead.
I would just say, and I would address this to some of the companies that are part of the Hispanic Promise and that are actively working with the We Are All Human campaign. When you think about diversity and when you think about hiring, Think about it at all levels. Too often we talk to companies and they say, well, we're looking early stage in the pipeline, and that's great. But if you want to be successful, you need to be deliberate about diversity at every single level, including in the C-suite. Because if I'm coming into a company and I don't see somebody at a level higher than me or in that executive suite that I can aspire to, I'm not going to get there. And that goes back to what Maria said, right? Once you do get there, give back, mentor, and participate. High tech is the largest community of Hispanic technology executives. We're talking people in the C-suite, CIOs, CEOs, that are driven to help others, right? That are driven to mentor and to help bring up the next generation of Hispanic tech talent and participate in these types of organizations.
I just want to reiterate one thing and just do that favor to that person that you know. You are here also to connect and network with other people. That's what I'm here. I can definitely, reach out to that person that is in need, because as Maria is saying, we need to help each other. And I can guarantee you that I am a living example that if you can dream it, it's going to happen. So make it work, and I'm here to help.
Quickly, I think that there are three things that we all can do. We all can enable others. It can be a scale of 1, like you were mentioning, Joshua. It can be your organization, but let's be sure that we don't lose opportunity to make a difference for someone at the scale that you can. The second one, I think, is important that we sponsor, which is not only helping and enabling and giving access, is can you really move the needle and make a difference for someone? I always tell my team, look, after the years to come, no one will remember numbers and things. They will only remember the experiences and the people that you work with and how you make them feel and what you did for them. Yeah. So that's the important thing. Thank you. The last one is inspire. It's horrifying to see how much talent is wasted by limiting beliefs. By people that just believe they're not good enough. It's not for them. All of us here, even though we see the opportunity and the gaps, we are an inspiration for other people that are younger generation that haven't seen the opportunity that we have, that will die to be seated here with us to go and plan about making a difference. So why don't we partner and share our stories the best way that we can? In a campfire, in social media, knock yourself out, right? But go out there and inspire other people. So enable, sponsor, inspire, and together we want to make a difference. Thank you.
So with that in mind, are you committed to making a difference? If you're committed to making a difference, if you're willing to do the very simple things that everyone on this panel has told you, open your LinkedIn. This is going to take us 30 seconds. Go to My Network, the second little icon, and you'll see that there's a little person with a plus. Click on that one. And if you want to connect and you want to be part of this network and you're willing to mentor, you're willing to hold that door open, click on Find Nearby. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So go back. So on the home page, you open your LinkedIn app and you're in home. The second icon right at the bottom in the menu bar,
the two people?
The two people is My Network. Yeah? Bluetooth has to be on. Thank you for reminding us. Then you'll get a little blue circle above. And I'll go and stand at the back and do this and help anyone who needs help. Click on that one. Select Find Nearby, and you'll see a bunch of people who are all here. Add us. Connect. We are going to make this happen. We're going to make a difference. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
My friends, for over 500 years, Latinos have been contributing mightily to the building of America. We have played a pivotal role in our nation's military, fighting in every single war we've ever had. And as an Air Force veteran, I can tell you that we take a backseat to no one in defense of liberty, to our business community, and every single aspect of American society. We have over 5 centuries worth of Hispanic stars, including the people in this room. And contrary to what some might have you believe, Latinos are not a recent patch being sewn on the tapestry of America. We are an essential foundational thread woven into the very fabric of America. And these stories need a home. That's why the time has come for a National Museum of the American Latino on the National Mall as part of the Smithsonian Institution to celebrate and commemorate these stories for a more complete and accurate telling of American history, to inspire future generations, and we invite you to join us. My name is Danny Vargas. Visit AmericanLatinoMuseum.org to find out how you can support this cause. Thank you very much.
To consolidate the universe of all the Hispanic stars. What a great way to start the morning with that panel. Everything that we've been discussing in the yesterday about the priorities, education, financial empowerment, and perception cannot really manifest and be advanced without tech. From mentorship, internships, apprenticeships, from financial literacy, to access to capital. It is essential. And having actually monsters like Microsoft, Airbnb, Salesforce, and Google on the stage and actually committing to advancing Hispanics is amazing. I want to invite everyone in, like in the tech industry to partner with us. Part of what we're doing with the Hispanic Star will be actually linking and showing the role models in tech. Because if you don't see it, you can't be it. And we need more Alvaros, and we need more Omars, and we need more people to be the faces for our young generations to get excited to go into tech. So if you like the Hispanic Star, think about the Hispanic Star in tech and partner with us. Secondly, I think that it's great to have a lot of movement from within, but we need to get to the room where it happens. So we're going to go to Davos, and we're going to have a delegation, actually a Davos delegation coming of Hispanics coming to Davos this year. And I'm super proud. Yes! And I'm super proud. I'm super proud that we're going to have a dinner of Hispanics in tech in Davos. Raquel Tames from Shipe is coming. I'm trying to convince a couple of others, Omar and others, to come to Davos so that we can actually have a voice where people need to hear it. It's the sandwich effect, the tortilla, the quesadilla, whatever you want to call it, where we're bottom up but also top down. Say that again. Yes, exactly. So, and it's really essential to have internal champions anyways. This is, again, a call for everybody to share your photos, your videos. We were trending yesterday. Well done. We have a full house again today in this half a day of the second edition of the Hispanic Leadership Summit. So keep sharing, keep using hashtag Hispanic Leadership Summit. And now I want to introduce 2 men that will, one of our most interesting conversations, and most importantly, that will share what we as a community can learn from others that have made this journey. Reverend Jesse Jackson has played an incredible role in virtually every movement for empowerment, peace, civil rights, gender equality, and economic and social justice. In 2000, President Bill Clinton awarded Reverend Jesse Jackson the Presidential Medal of Freedom. To sit down with him today, to hear his wisdom about the lessons learned for our community, about how to build coalitions together, about the do's and the don'ts that no one else can share us, please welcome, he's going to sit with him, an incredible journalist, but also community, Bret Stephens, who has chaired 2 Pulitzer juries and won the 2013 Pulitzer Prize for the commentary. This is Bret Stephens, a Hispanic star. Let's give it to Bret Stephens, please. And everybody, please give your recognition for Reverend Jesse Jackson to have traveled from Chicago just to share this panel with us this morning. Give it to Jesse Jackson, please.
this on? There we go. Good morning, I'm nervous. Buenos días, es un placer estar con ustedes y es un gran honor estar con Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's an honor to be with you here this morning. I think we all feel that way, Reverend. Reverend, I want to begin by asking you, I think, what must be on the minds of so many people here. As a civil rights leader, you have always been a bridge builder. And you've been a bridge builder when that strategy wasn't necessarily the one that everyone agreed with, the one that wasn't necessarily the obvious one to take. So I'd like you to offer some remarks, because I think here we're also interested in bridge building within the Hispanic community, but also beyond the Hispanic community. What are the lessons that you have learned over the years about how you do it, and maybe also what you should avoid?
Good morning. I want to introduce my son, Jonathan, the national spokesman for the Rainbow Push Coalition. I have not always been a bridge builder. I learned to be a bridge builder. We learn to survive apart. I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Ecuadorian. We must learn to live together. We learn to survive apart. But as I said in a speech, it's like my grandmother making a quilt. We couldn't afford to buy one uncut piece of cloth, a blanket. She would take old pieces of cloth, rayon, silk, cotton, spread them on the bed. Apart they were rags, beautiful colors. She connected them, they became a quilt, a thing of beauty and art. When we are apart, we may survive, we cannot prosper. 100 largest cities are majority black and brown. Repeat, say, we are. Repeat, we are each other's future. We need each other. I'm here today because Claudia invited me here. Our first chairman of the Rainbow was Mario Blato. We meant to build a coalition. We relate in Chicago because of Juan Andrade. We meant to build a coalition. I didn't happen to come by. I was invited here. Somebody thinks that black-brown is necessary. Say, we are necessary. Need is the basis of organization. Need, basis of organization. Service is power. Self-interest, the sustaining force. In other words, the 100 largest cities are majority black and brown. When Tom Bradley ran for mayor of L.A., East L.A., didn't get the Latino vote, and Yorda got it, he lost. Blacks and browns coalesced with Maxine in that generation. He won 4 times in a row. When Wilson Webb ran for mayor in Denver, and the minority black community, he coalesced with Latinos, him and Pena. Black and browns have been winning ever since. In Chicago, Harold, 75% black community, 50+1 Latino community. He won. He's now a hero. So whenever we choose to coalesce, we build. Blacks must learn to speak Spanish. Latinos must learn to speak English. We must learn to speak to each other. We're separated not just by race, but by language. And what made Dr. King different, in a sense, was that when he killed in 60, his last movement was a poor people's campaign. Blacks from the Deep South, Latinos from Texas, L.A., and the farm fields, King and Chavez. We meant to build a campaign, a coalition. Mr. Mather later became our first chairman. I remember we did a joint negotiation with 7-Up Corporation, 7-Up dealerships. We got some black and brown franchises and jobs together. We first went to Silicon Valley. A few years they had 300 plus board members, 36 white women, 3 blacks and 1 Latino. They didn't sponsor us into change. We bought stocks in corporations. Shareholders meeting said HP, we represent 100 largest markets, black, brown. We represent market, capital, economics, and security. We represent growth. To not include us is like a one-eye quarterback. You can't see the field. So we represent heaven. We represent market, money, talent, leadership, and growth. Sometimes white people can't see us. They don't take us into account. So let's assert ourselves. We'll not be taken into account. We're hired not because we're responsible. We're hired because we're necessary. So we're hired because we have power. We represent money, market, talent, location, and growth. Market, money, talent, location, and growth. We're stronger together.
Let me ask you about that, Reverend. One of your missions has been changing perception, and that's what you're talking about now. So what are the strategies by which you do that?
We do not have an ability problem. We have an opportunity problem. Nothing is wrong with us. Be proud, but don't have race pride. Pride can become arrogance, and you look down on someone. So we're proud, but not pride. Pride leads to arrogance. Arrogance precedes the fall. We're proud, but not pride. We're proud because we matter. And what I'm trying to say simply is this. There's no gadget in Silicon Valley we cannot work. A bank we cannot lead in New York, as the case may be. We have the stuff. If you have a size 10 foot and a size 8 shoe, nothing is wrong with your foot. Something's wrong with the shoe. Don't cut your foot off to adjust to the shoe. If you have a size 10 foot, size 8 shoe, nothing's wrong with your foot. Something's wrong. Don't cut your foot off. I'm saying this so that here we are with more market, talent, location than we have room for us. When we cut the shoe off or cut into sandals, we can grow. We will not. Many wives don't look at us because we don't matter to them. When they meet, we don't occur to them. And so unless we assert ourselves, we will not be on the table. And Turkish should not organize Thanksgiving dinners. Turkish should not organize Thanksgiving dinners.
One of the things that you have talked about, Reverend, are the 4 stages of the African American story, beginning with the end of slavery, the end of Jim Crow, the still in process acquisition of voting rights, and finally economic empowerment and access, as you've put it, to deal making. So how do we complete those, especially that last revolution?
Well, know what stage we're in. For us, for 1619 and 240 to 1640, 1865, we were in slavery. Nothing mattered but abolition. When we were unprotected by slavery, we were locked out by race and by culture. Next stage two was to end Jim Crow. Jim Crow was more violent to us than slavery because in Jim Crow, in slavery, we were seen as assets. Right, but we became threats. Therefore, 7,000 blacks and Latinos were lynched. Lynched. Unprotected by federal law, unprotected by state law. We were lynched. We didn't have the right to vote. We were lynched. Extrajudicial lynching took place on blacks and Hispanics. You can get documentation. We were lynched. Many of us were driven to the cities as refugees, driven by terror. It's not enough that San Francisco, Latino, and Los Angeles, and all that, and blacks. But unless we have the power, we cannot protect our interests. They were free, but not equal. Free, but not equal. It's not enough to be free, you have to be equal. Now, I want Jonathan to talk a bit about the 14th Amendment. What makes Elizabeth Warren's campaign important to us as a philosophy, she focused on protection. Our vote is important if it's protected. If we can't count, if our vote doesn't count, it's not protected. If it's gerrymandered, it's not protected. If it's at large, it's not protected. If it's not in court, our vote must occur, must be accounted, must be coalesced, must be applied to our interests. So my point is simply this, that in voting, our vote often is not protected. We had big lawsuits in Texas last time around, right? They carved out 4 congressional districts. Things true in Louisiana, right? Texas and Colorado and Chicago. So together, we must fight to protect the vote. Think about it, America may be a majority minority in 2050. That's not true, friends. We're already a majority minority. In 1965, blacks could not vote since 1865. 18-year-olds could not vote, those serving in Vietnam. White women couldn't serve on juries in the South. 18-year-olds couldn't vote. You couldn't vote on college campuses. See, as of August 6, 1965, a new majority emerged. It's important to say a new majority emerged. You combine blacks, 18-year-olds, white women, Latinos, and campuses. That's a new majority, based upon idea, not just based upon race, or based upon language. So when it comes together, we become president in 2008. Because we become congressmen, senators, so we become congressmen, senators, and presidents. We will vote our shared interests. The first thing we all need is to protect the right to vote. Everything else flows from that. So everything flows. Protect the right to vote. In other words, you can only go to jury if you're a registered voter. Some people came to Chicago some years ago from Britain. Some jurists from Britain, and they went to the jail system, traffic court, Cook County Jail. They said, "Where's the jail for the whites? Where's the black and Latinos there?" Now, what we're trying to do now, we're trying to register blacks and Latinos in the jails. They have the right to vote. They've not been sentenced. Some black Latinos have been in jail in Chicago 7 years waiting for trial. 9,000 in Chicago alone. We're going to begin to get precincts in the jail and get computers. They can use some of that time. We're watching television, learning how do apps, codes, and programming. We must assert that the blacks and browns in jail, talk to them, say blacks and browns in jail must learn to compute. They must learn to vote. Well, I took my birthday last October. I went to jail, and blacks and Latinos, about 50 of them in the room. And they said, Reverend, what's the voting? I said, you can vote on the judge. They said, what? You can vote for the precinct. You can vote for the captain. You can vote for the... They didn't realize they had power. Say blacks and browns in jail can vote for the judge, state's attorney general. All of a sudden, they have a reason to vote. They want to vote on judges, right? Talk to me, somebody. Say blacks and browns in jail. When I went to jail in 1983 with Harold Washington. Harold had been to jail for some charge he didn't pay taxes or something like that. We took him to jail. We go every Christmas Day. They laughed. Harold been to jail. A guy named Spencer Leaks was the chair of the Cook County Jail. We registered every inmate in jail, about 12,000. They voted for Harold. He won by the margin of those in jail. So every vote counts. In the South, especially, the Voting Rights Act been undercut by the Shelby decision. Our vote, 2013, our vote is undercut. We vote, we lose. I don't think I'm getting you. We won the seat in Virginia in 2016, 17. About 200,000, we lost by flip of a coin, gerrymandering. In 2018, we won by 9 million votes and lost the Senate. So voting must occur and must count. And voting must avoid the impediments of gerrymandering and lack of coalition. There's no city, blacks and Hispanics cannot win together.
Reverend. I want to ask you to talk in a more personal way to some of the people in this audience. I see people of all ages. When you're thinking about yourself as a young man, as an activist in your late 20s, what is the advice that you give to activists in their late 20s or maybe 30 years old? And what's the advice you would give to those here in this room who are a little older, in their late 40s or early 50s? What's the advice you wish you had given yourself?
I can't remember that far back. In formative years, learn to learn. So in my formative years, I must learn to learn. Therefore, the first stage really is education, because in principle, we won the principle to end race discrimination. We lost the Latino seat, the Rodriguez case. They chose the black case with race equality. They missed the Latino case with resource inequality. See, it's not enough to be free and unequal. The gap today is not just a race gap, resource gap. So that if you live in Pilsen, Chicago, and live on the west side, Ghetto and Barrio, and versus Neuqua Valley, the suburbs, one school has a computer behind every desk, 11 swimming pools, teach 4 or 5 languages. Schools are so modern until they come there in the summertime to take courses for Notre Dame. As a matter of fact, those schools are really advanced college schools. Our children go to the same schools, our children take the same exams without the same information. So when it comes to boxing and running track, we can make it. Why are we so good at boxing and basketball and football? So whenever the playing field is even. Rules, public, goals, clear, referees fair, scores transparent, We can make it. One more time. Whenever the playing field is even, rules, public, goals, clear, referees fair, scores transparent, we can make it. In other words, if on the football field you had to run 12 yards of first down because you're Latino and 8 because you're black, because you inherit some yards, we can do it. So whenever inheritance trumps effort, we cannot win. Effort and excellence means a lot. Effort and excellence means a lot. Inheritance and access means more. You got that?
So I promised Claudia that I would give some time to the audience to ask questions of the Reverend. So all I'm going to do is ask you to raise your hands, maybe tell us who you are, and ask a question that ends with a question mark.
Reverend Jesse Jackson, it's an honor to see you here. I'm originally from Chicago, right here. I'm Helen Cavazos, and I live in Houston now. I'm honored to have you here and to hear your words of wisdom. You've been an inspiration to all of us. We have walked behind your coattails, the Browns have, and we thank you for what you've done. My question is this. So the future is now. So the Latinos are the largest population in the country, 16% the minority population, and I don't like the word minority, but we're the new majority, thank you. But what advice do you give to us for the future of this country if we are the majority and we are the force? Thank you.
By yourself, you are a minority. In coalition, we are the majority. We have the power in coalition to change our situation. But we must make shared demands. We must, with Silicon Valley, not looking for a donation. We must with Silicon Valley, not looking for a donation, but looking for our share. So Silicon Valley must give us our share. Now, donation is not the share. Board positions, C-suites, contracts, procurement, our demands must be adult demands. The generous donation is not a demand. That's buying time for demand.
I see at least 3 questions, so I'm going to just move from left to right. Right there.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you, Reverend Jackson. Thank you, Mr. Steven, for this opportunity. And I have a question. My name is Yvonne Hanks, and I used to be the former commissioner 2010 to 2014 of the City of Albany, New York, for the Division of Human Rights. And one of the biggest challenges that I had, even before I was a commissioner, as a community advocate for the Hispanic community, and then working for the government, that one of the challenges that we had in trying to get, not so much getting to people to register to vote, is to get people to get civically engaged after the vote. For example, we don't really train or teach our people to govern our representative. We are the people, for the people, by the people. So after we give the elected representative their vote, we sort of leave them aside, meaning we don't encourage civic participation, meaning supervise your elected officials, check the public records. So how can we do more than education to get people to get out there and do the job as we the people, for the people, by the people, to govern our elected officials, to make sure that they're making the right decision for us as a community of interest? How can we train, create the activities for outreach, so we can encourage people to learn to supervise their elected official? It goes beyond the vote.
Okay.
The oppressor will not give us power. He'll give us a job.
Yes.
I went to high school in Chicago, Curie. 750 seniors, 90% Latino, and they weren't teaching DACA. All 18-year-olds, 18 eligible registered vote right now. And the president didn't have time for the DACA students to register and vote. So no one will give us power. So the responsibility to educate our people beyond the voting is ours, solely ours. No one else has any interest in registering you to vote. And teach you its power but you. Y'all get the point?
You, sir, in the blue. El botón bajo del micrófono. Ahí está.
My name is Frank Garcia. I am the national chair of the National Association of Latino State Chambers. I've been to your events here in New York. Jesse, thank you for your leadership when it comes to supply diversity. My question, as someone who used to be the head of the New York State Chamber and sued Bloomberg when he gave 1% for Hispanics and African Americans when it came to contracts, now he wants to be our president. And we won that. Now we got 30% for Hispanic and African American businesses. The question I have, I've always learned for you to fight for Hispanics and for African Americans when it comes to supply diversity. The problem with us, we don't like to grade corporations. You've been the greatest person when it comes to grading the corporations. How can we learn from you to make sure that these corporations that we buy from give us the piece of the pie when it comes to supply diversity? They're not doing that. And we need your help on that.
Well, we must learn from each other. I wish there were a group of blacks like comparable to you in the meeting. We can learn from this session. We need a black summit meeting like this, and then a black summit combined meeting. The black leaders just like this. And then joint negotiations. No bank can tell us no. No TV station can tell us no. No investment firm can tell us no. No pension fund can tell us no. I want John to say something about the 14th Amendment. That's what we are, the 14th Amendment.
Hello, Jonathan Jackson, National Spokesperson for the Rainbow Push Coalition. This is the 400th year of Africans in the America from 1619 to 2019. And to put it in perspective, from 1619 to 1865, 246 years, the African Americans were denied under U.S. law access to education, names, resources, made into chattel slavery. I say that in that no one has monopoly on pain in history. There's just a particular irony with the African Americans in the greatest, freest country on earth. The 14th Amendment comes out of 1865, what were called the slave amendments. After the freedom is passed, the 13th Amendment abolishes slavery, but there's a colon, unless duly convicted, which means you are the property of the state. You go back into slave. This created this modern day slave industrial, if you will, prison industrial society. How does this tie in coming up to 2019 when my father sent me down to El Paso to the border? It became clear to me, sitting out there in the 100-degree weather and seeing the children in cages and so forth, why there's a right-wing backlash that's going on. It's all about the 15th Amendment. The 13th Amendment abolishes slavery. The 14th Amendment fights for equal protection under the law in the United States, and the 15th Amendment is your right to vote. What is happening now? There's an attack on the 15th Amendment, your right to vote. Mrs. Clinton won the general election by 3 million votes, but lost the presidency by 77,000 votes. In Wisconsin, Michigan, and in Pennsylvania. She won by 3 million votes and lost by 77,000 votes. You figure that one out. But the 15th Amendment, denying people your access to right to vote. The 14th Amendment, the protection. The 13th is slavery. What I saw in El Paso on all these issues with the border is invalidating people's right to vote. This is why this is a core tenet that this administration, and I'm not talking about an individual, it's an ideology of making people lose citizenship, denying their humanity. It goes together. And after you don't have the right to vote, you don't have equal protection because you cannot be on juries, you're back into slavery. So when my father says we have to fight together, that's at the heart of it. And the right-wing Christian, which we call the wrong Christians because they're not right, it's an ideology of race supremacy, and the real thing they care about, and my father keeps emphasizing the right to vote, is they will let this person be a buffoon in office so long as he stacks the Supreme Court, stacks the federal judiciary, and keeps a level of race supremacy in this country. So 14th Amendment is a key term for us 400 years later for Africans in the America. There are many great laws on the book, but now we're suffering from lack of compliance. After the 2008 financial meltdown, the laws were already on the books for Hispanics, for African Americans to get contracts. The laws were not enforced.
Also, there are more Africans south of Texas than north of Texas. African Mexicans, African Ecuadorians. There are more Africans. There are more Africans south of the border than north. So that we can document the days Africans got freed in those countries. So blacks and Latinos are blood brothers and sisters.
Our blood brothers and sisters. Reverend, we have time for one more question. There's a lady in the back who's been very patient.
Hear me? All right, perfect. So on that note, as a proud Afro-Colombian, so black and brown, I wanted to ask you, Reverend, I'm very excited because I saw you actually 10 years ago at USHLI and very excited to see you again here. So I've worked in Silicon Valley, and now I'm my own entrepreneur, so I created my own business. And as I advance in financial wealth, I want to see how we can equip new leaders that have financial ability to create generational wealth for the generations to come, because that is what's stopping us from being powerful.
Say that again. I don't understand.
It's how to create generational wealth.
Wealth is in collective integrity, not just money. We should have a meeting like this in El Paso. In El Paso, not New York. If you can stand by and watch Latino babies die in cages and you worry about getting a job in New York, you missed the point. I said Latino babies are dying in cages. There's too much silence among the Latino community. Oh, he sells some contracts to build a wall. Latinos line up to build a wall. That'll be like blacks line up to build slave ships. Say blacks should not build slave ships. Latinos should not build a wall. If so, protest. That's what I mean by collective pride. Because if you simply, I'm individual proud, I'm up in the mobile, I have an education, I'm going up. Suppose you rise to the top and your people are dying on the border. So Jesus was born in a manger, under a death warrant, poor, escaped Egypt as an immigrant and as a refugee, and lived till he was 12. And the point is, that's our story. That's not a hero story. That's how the birth of Jesus in the manger. The birth of Jesus in the manger, poor, under death warrant, escaping Egypt as an immigrant, as a refugee. It's our story. We can't give that to Santa Claus. That's our story. I look forward to us having the next meeting with Hispanics and African Americans in El Paso. Let the whole world see us fighting for dignity. If you get dignity, you'll get wealth. So if I get dignity, I'll get wealth. Because wealth without dignity is a house built on sand. If I get dignity, I'll get wealth. But if I don't have an insult level, I never have dignity. With dignity comes wealth. With wealth, without dignity, it's a house on sand. I ain't supposed to work together. I'm happy today. I'm no longer nervous. I want to talk some now. I'm no longer nervous.
We got time for one quick question.
This is Dr. Betty Uribe. Thank you so much for being here. Yesterday, Richard Edelman talked about some facts about the Latino community versus the African American community. The African American community, like the Latino community, has gone through a lot, and yet the how we feel about ourselves as a community is much lower for the Latinos than it is for the African Americans. In this room, we have a lot of people, and people that are watching are a lot of people that have access, that have a lot of power, and in this room as well. What can you tell us about the African American community that we can learn and take back to our organizations, to our people, the people that are influencers, that we can actually do to really help our community feel the way that the African American community feels today?
Our future is in that's one reason. People don't care that you know they know that. So people do not know.
People don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
They must know that we care. The point is that in the South, in the ex-slave states, blacks we're enslaved longer than we've been free. We're just coming together, coming awake. We're about to take Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama, Talladega. Say blacks in the ex-slave states. Say blacks, Latinos, the ex-slave states. We together can turn the red states blue. See, if just black, white in the South, blacks can never become. See, blacks, Latinos in the South, you bring unions to the South, education, collective bargaining. When my mother was dying in the hospital in Greenville, South Carolina, white lady, she said, Reverend Jackson, said, my husband, he's dying, and they're about to put him out of the hospital, and my son has a broken leg or something. Will you pray? I said, I'll pray for him. She said, I said, I'll go and pray. She said, no, don't go up, just pray for him down here. She said, Reverend, to be honest, I really want a full I don't want Obamacare. She didn't want Obamacare. She wanted the egg, she wanted an omelet without the egg. She didn't know, she had been taught that Obamacare was a problem. South Carolina, 750,000 people eligible for Medicaid. The new majority in South Carolina is black, brown, and needy whites. The former mayor, Nikki Haley, she was born in Bamberg, South Carolina. Hospital she was born in is closed down. If you get Medicaid in South Carolina, if we beat Graham with black running for Senate, we'll have Medicaid 10 billion and 61,000 jobs. Say in the South, don't just count. Say in the South, don't just count Latino votes. Count black, brown votes. Our future is in coalition. Our future is with each other. Our future with each other. Adios, mañana.
Give it up for the Reverend.
I want all of us to show Reverend Jesse Jackson that we are ready to be united. So I want all of us to actually tell you we are ready to be united, and we want look, we have this FOMO and this little jealousy about, like how you manage to unify the community, how you actually put a strategy together and said, we, for the African American community, we're going to have, and I repeat the 4 things, access to capital, access to industry, access to tech, and access to deal flow. And then you actually, from there, build a strategy and said, and now we're going to build the tactics on the action plan, and we're going to go for the jobs of human resources and the jobs for procurement, and we're going to be in the heads of the foundations. And everyone is going to try to get those jobs because those are the jobs that give money. We are ready here, yes or no? Yes or no? So how do we do it?
Claudia, I recommend that we get a steering committee from this group and a comparable black group. We should meet early in January because the election is in March, right? So this year...
November.
No, I mean the election's in when? First election. What's his first primary? Primary. We should meet someplace in January because we're in the South. Could be El Paso. The point is, say, the ex-slave states where blacks pick cotton and Latinos pick fruit, we both were picking and getting picked on. When Dr. King had the last staff meeting in Atlanta, I let you go. We had some Latinos that we met, Clark Gonzalez and some of Chavez group in the Southwest, blacks from South Carolina, Mississippi. We'd never met each other before. We began to recalculate our relationships. Blacks and Latinos in the South, unions can come south with us together. Collective bargain, higher wages, access to capital. See, when we grow together, we have the numbers now. We have the ability now. We have the need now. Let's organize this January with this thing. We will determine the next president. Now.
No. Don't go. One more. Jeff, one more. We launched a campaign yesterday. We launched a framework, a platform that you have there. We call it the Hispanic Star. And I think that that's pretty much a platform that could allow all of us to shine because that's who we are, Hispanic stars ready to shine. And I wanted you to, you have the symbol there just with you. And I wanted to give us actually, it's not your la bendición, but, I wanted you to give us the, 3 pieces of advice that you think we can all collectively, this is our campaign, this is no one campaign, this is our symbol just to signify and to showcase the Hispanic contributions.
When Frederick Douglass built the first black newspaper, it's called the North Star. See, when we overcome separation and learn to live together and not die apart, look up for the star. The star will cast out darkness. We the people can make it. Nothing is wrong. Say nothing is wrong with us. Something is wrong with the system. When we change our minds, we change the system. If we have the faith, God has the power. Say, I am. Loud, I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. Respect me. Protect me. Never neglect me. I am somebody. My mind is a pearl. I can learn anything in the world if my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it. I know I can achieve it. I am God's child. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Hispanics rising. Higher. Higher. Higher.
Yeah! Okay. Reverend, please join us back. Stay with us for the day. Stay with us for the day. Reverend Jesse Jackson, everybody.
a book. I'm going to give a few copies away today. Some speeches that I've done in the past. I want all of us to do two things. One, the book, but I want us to meet in January. We must intend to meet before the 15th, right after Christmas. We should mean to meet in Texas. So we can win Texas. Yes. We can win Texas if we believe it. Who organized the steering committee?
Texas.
We can do it. I want to invite Reverend Jackson to sit down. Please don't let's actually continue with the program. Let's give it the last round of applause. Please don't interrupt the program and go on. So I'm going to ask you all to be super respectful, not stand up to take photos right now. We're going to have Reverend Jackson joining us because we have our next panel coming on board. Delia, Patricia Mota, I see you. We're not going to have photos now. We're going to take them later. I'd like to welcome now a very, very interesting group. And again, Hispanic stars, ready to shine. Hispanic stars, ready to shine. There we go. So Erica Ender is a singer and songwriter, a philanthropist, and the face of the new cultural fusion that we keep hearing everywhere, and that for us represents our culture and its influence better than anything else. So people that are actually taking photos here, I'm going to come and cut a little bit of your hair as a repression. Like, that's it. No, we're not going to take photos now. We're going to be very good and welcome. Like, again, let's give it to Reverend Jackson then. Okay, Reverend Jackson, don't go. Let's stay here. Reverend, this way. There we go. This is a panel you do not want to miss. So Jonathan and Reverend Jackson, join us. So Erica Ender, a singer and songwriter, a philanthropist, and the face of the new cultural fusion that we keep hearing everywhere, and that for us, join me here, represents our culture and its influence better than anything else. Joining her here is another music legend, Desmond Child. Yes, Desmond was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2008. And this year, Reverend Jackson, we celebrate her 20th anniversary of Ricky Martin's historic Grammy performance of Living La Vida Loca, written by Desmond. Please welcome them with Jorge Plasencia.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. It's great to be here. Thank you, Claudia. Can we have a round of applause for Claudia and her team? Very few people have accomplished what Claudia's accomplished in the amount of time she has, and it's extraordinary. Thank you for all you're doing. So again, I'm Jorge Plasencia, CEO, co-founder of Republica Havas, based in Miami. My career before marketing and advertising and everything we do today with amazing brands, I was in the music business for a while. I was in sports. I was in media. But I had a really, I was blessed in my career to be at different places in key times, right? I was with the Florida Marlins when we won our first World Series back in '97 in marketing, and then I worked for the Estefans, for Gloria Estefan and Emilio Estefan, doing an incredible time. It was the time where Gloria was coming off, touring all the time, and Emilio and Gloria were starting to focus on producing and managing other talent. If you remember back to those days, they were working with some of the world's top talent and some of the top Latin talent. So I had a front row seat at what started to happen. A lot of the early meetings with, at the time, Michael Green, who was the president of the Recording Academy, to create the Latin Grammy Awards and the Latin Academy. The Estefans really helped with all that. So I was, from Shakira's early days, all that was amazing, right? I can't believe it was 20 years ago. But a pinnacle moment in 1999, in February of '99, was right here in New York City at Radio City Music Hall. when the incredible Ricky Martin performed The Cup of Life, La Copa de la Vida. Who remembers that night? Who remembers that night? Everybody, right? So that was really the turning point. The turning point, because obviously, yes, you had Gloria and the incredible success, crossover success Gloria had, and Julio Iglesias and Jose Feliciano and Santana and Selena before she passed. And I mean, you name it, right? But this was the moment where I think a lot of us, of my generation and younger, right, were saying, wow, you know, this is our culture and it's on the big stage, right? And, you know, somebody that was key at that moment, he was truly the pillar behind a lot of what happened at that moment. And it was somebody that had incredible success in English. You know, he had some of the top hits of all time, like Living on a Prayer, and How Can We Be Lovers, and You Give Love a Bad Name, and I Was Made for Loving You, and Dude Looks Like a Lady, and I could keep going and going and going.
I could keep going.
Me too. Is my friend Desmond Child. And Desmond at that time, he actually decided to move to Miami, and he'll tell you the story, moved to Miami to connect back with his roots, because he'd been doing English for such a long time, but as a proud Cuban American, he wanted to connect back to his roots. So Desmond, and Erica, we're going to get to you.
Sure.
But Desmond, if we could start with you, take us back to that moment in time. Take us back to 98, 99. Take us back to that moment when Ricky performed on the Grammy Awards. What was that like for you?
Wow. I had left home in Miami, where I grew up, Miami Beach, to go to school in New York. And that's where where I started my career while I was going to NYU with my group. And then, I started hanging out with people like Paul Stanley of Kiss and Bon Jovi, Aerosmith. And I just kept going, and having a lot of success in the English-speaking American market. And then I moved to LA, and I was living there with my now husband, Curtis. This was like 30-something years ago. And we went through that earthquake, the Northridge earthquake. And I said, Mommy! And so I ran back to Miami Beach. And I said, I am not going to live in California. Not after what we went through. We were scared to death. But that earthquake was the earthquake to me that ignited the Latin music explosion. Because I got to Miami and I started going to salsa lessons and to all these clubs. And my mother was a songwriter, Elena Casals, who wrote, boleros and all that. So I grew up in Latin music, but I got back in touch with my Latin roots. So at the same time, there was a kid that I kept hearing about. He was on General Hospital. He was on Broadway in Les Mis. And everyone said, you really should work with this kid, Ricky Martin. And so I saw a video of him paralyzing Buenos Aires, like an aerial shot, 1 million people out to see him perform live on the street. And so I said, okay, I get it. So I had this idea to bring what I had learned in a stadium arena rock music with Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, and Kiss, and bring it to Latin music. So I wanted to create Latin music that was anthemic. So that's where you got,
The Cup
Here
of Life.
Here we go. Ale, ale, ale. Go, go, go. Ale, ale, ale. And then we grew out of that into Living La Vida Loca. So we know that one, right? See, I learned from Reverend Jackson. we do it like this. Upside, inside, out. She pushed and pulled me out. You see? Thank you so much. That's the way it's done. So it really, I wanted to also change the sound of the music, because prior to when I got there, Latin music had become kind of a step brother, sister to American music. It was very pop. It was like pop, American pop with Spanish lyrics. to me, that wasn't Latin music. So I started to, kind of reinvent how Latin music was going to be presented. So I created the first Pro Tools studio. So everything was done digitally, and I started approaching it like they did dance music and hip hop. And so that's why the sound of that changed the sound of Latin music. And nothing was ever the same after that. So it opened the door to a lot of rhythmic music that was coming out of, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Santo Domingo, Mexico, Argentina. It was a whole urban sound that came in with Living La Vida Loca. And so that was the birth of reggaeton, and I bring you Erica Ender.
So I want to say that, Desmond's new album just came out. Make sure you go get it, Desmond Child Live. It's amazing. Make sure you get it. And
I paid him extra to say that.
And I commend you for he co-founded with our friend Rudy Perez the Latin Songwriters Hall of Fame and the La Musa Awards, which is, if you've never been to this show, it's extraordinary. It's in October down in Miami, but it celebrates our music in such an authentic ways because it celebrates, the people that truly make our music, right?
The unsung heroes.
The unsung heroes. But speaking of someone that truly makes music, I'm lucky to be up here with two people that I highly respect and admire. And what could I say about Erica Ender? Again, having been myself worked for extraordinary people like Emilio and Gloria in music and what they've done, knowing this guy, and then having Erica also as a dear friend. Erica, what you did recently in the last few years, you with Fonsi and Yankee, you guys created a song that truly became a global phenomenon, a global anthem. But what's interesting about it, when Justin Bieber comes in, it was a crossover the other way, right? Because it's a song that became huge in español, and then someone like Justin Bieber raised his hand and said, you know what, I want to record it in English. And you know what happened to the song, both in Spanish and in English, and that's Despacito. So, but what's important about Erica is that she was a legend in her own right way before Despacito. She's had so many #1 hits. Desmond and I have both been to Panama, where she's beloved. That's her home country. So, Erica, let's talk about you briefly, because I know we're really tight on time. But yeah, okay, good. So let's talk about you, because you moved to Miami about 20 years ago. Because 23 years ago when you
now it's working.
23 years ago when you were a little girl.
Almost.
And
no, I'm 45. Proudly 45.
We're both 45. Proudly 45.
Yeah, I came to the U.S. when I was 22.
You were telling me that you would admire what Gloria and Emilio.
Yeah. Now that you're mentioning all of that, since I was a little girl, I used to admire a lot of artists. But when I saw Gloria Estefan and Emilio Estefan taking over the world with conga, I was like 9 years old, and I remember sitting, watching TV beside my mom and saying, you know what, I want the world to sing my songs as well. So she inspired me. And after that, I saw Ricky as well, and that was an inspiration, because we related to that moment. We felt like we were represented, and I think that was a very important moment for the Spanglish, Mm-hmm. That's when I think the Spanglish started in music. So I admire you very much, too, my friend.
Let's fast forward to today.
And then today, what happened is that, my dream was always to write a song that the whole world could sing, but I thought it would be made in English. So I was pursuing that crossover, and I moved to LA in order to do that, but always sticking to my roots, which is what I think is valuable in all of us, the way we see the world. And I love the way that Claudia is doing her work, and that this foundation is called We're All Human, because at the end, we're all the same. In essence, we're all the same. We just see the world with different eyes. The same body that, dances a different rhythm, and then the same tongue that speaks a different language. So when I went to LA, ironically, Fonsi calls me and tells me, you know what, I'm looking for songs for my next CD. And we used to write before. We had singles before. And he tells me, can you come over to Miami so we can write something? And then I went back to Miami. I sat with him. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 6, the song was made. And between 2 and 3, we were having coffee and chatting, you know? So I think that whenever a song comes with a mission, and I really think that they come with a mission, and yours came with it as well, it just flows. It came out of a guitar, no beats, no producers, nothing. We just sat down and wrote a song. He wanted to challenge himself because he was very well known as a Latino balladist. And he wanted to do something different, and everything that was trending was reggaeton. I grew up listening to reggaeton in Panama, you know? And the thing is that we just sat down, it was supernatural, and we weren't expecting this to be the crossover it became. It just started like a snowball on day 1, number 1 in 14 countries. Then 24 hours later, the most seen video on YouTube ever, and then more than 6 billion streams. It was crazy, and it just kept surprising us. But then I understood it had a mission. It had the mission of breaking the walls they wanted to build for Latinos. It had the mission of crossing over in our own language, which was what I think was the best gift that the world could give us, and Justin could give us, because he decided to record the song mostly in Spanish. And it made me, and I say this in a very humble way, a woman in the middle of all of this that broke all records in music.
You are a woman that's broken all...
in music history because of that song as well. So I really hope that I can inspire that new girl, you know, just the same way that Gloria Estefan inspired myself, and that we can all understand that by using music as a powerful tool, we can really make a difference.
The three of us, we talk often about many different things, and we talk a lot about the image of Latinos in America, right? And I know that's a big part of why we're here, to, you know, to exalt and celebrate the contributions of this community, of all of this community to this country. You know, you're both people that have given back in such a way. Erica created something in Panama that I have no doubt can be replicated here in the U.S. and different countries around the world for children throughout education and the arts. Can you just tell us about that, Erica? Because, you know, we have this forum at the United Nations with leaders from all over, and it would be wonderful for them to know what Talempro is and does, and it was your brainchild, and it is truly changing and shifting the paradigm in Panama.
I totally give credit to my mom and dad, because I grew up listening to my mom saying all the time, we all have a talent, we have different talents, different skills, and we have to use it for the common good. So use your talent with a purpose. That's why it's called Talempro. How many Latinos in the house? So you understand Spanish, right? Talento con propósito. Talent with a purpose. So it's a platform that showcases talent in different categories, but at the same time gives you tools for life. Now we're in a world that is so broken. There are so many families that are broken nowadays. Technology is helping us very much, but technology without integrity and values has no value. So the thing is that I tried to create a methodology that would sum talent, values, social responsibility, and education. And the kids submit their material in each category, and then after they're picked as finalists for the grand finale, they have to recruit people in their own school. And then out of that, they receive different workshops with tools for life, values, and everything else. So that was the back door that I found to, you know, plant that seed in the new generation. And then they get prepared to do social labor towards a school in a vulnerable condition. So through this program, we get to restore 12 schools a year. And the kids, the youth is doing it themselves.
And those kids get scholarships.
And then
Can we speak to that?
whenever they get to the grand finale, they get scholarships. They can study whatever they want.
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
So it's all together. And I think that, as I was saying, it's such a powerful tool. We have a microphone here, cameras, everything. If we use it the right way, we can really make a difference in the world. We just have to unite and understand that.
So we were down in Panama recently, and we both got to see what Erika does down there. And guys, this airs live on the 3 television networks, prime time, from 7 to 10?
10.
From 7 o'clock to 10.
The grand
Just
finale.
like, it would stand up for cancer here in the U.S., same thing in Panama, and it's all created by Erica. So another big round.
Thank you.
God has been very good to her, and she continues to give back. Yeah. Desmond, I want to end with a question or two from the audience, but I want to ask you, why do you think that 20 years later, we're still having to have these conversations? Why do you think that we're still not there yet in regard to the image of this community? Because today, the world and the U.S. and America is eating our food. They love our culture. They love the taste. They love our music. Look at Maluma and J Balvin and Becky G and Karol G and Bad Bunny. And the list goes on. And Mark Anthony and you guys, you name it. And J-Lo. Yet, we're still fighting for the image of the community and the representation of the community. What can you say to that?
Well, just like in the African American community, the athletes and the singers, the artists, they're up front. And so that's the same with us. But it doesn't mean that prejudice and racism is over just because you like, Beyonce. It's so systemic to our world, and it has to be done from the beginning. You're not born with hate. You learn hate. And so, this has been like the most divisive time I've ever seen America since the Civil Rights era. And I marched with Coretta Scott King in Atlanta when I was 14 years old. I came up from Miami. And, I'm heartbroken every day with the things that I see. And so I don't have any answers. The music is the one thing that no matter what, both sides of the equation love music. So maybe through music and the arts, we can find some kind of common ground. But we have to want to walk towards the middle, not run towards the sides. And we need leaders that promote that. We need to get back to that.
It's a great point. One question? Okay, a question from the audience, or two. Mr. Jackson.
Okay, it's good. You can talk.
When Dr. King was killed, some rioted, some retreated. John Tanya started marching for King's birthday. 20 years he marched alone. He just like one man doing the impossible. Steve wanted to put the song Happy Birthday King to music. It became a national phenomenon.
Sure.
When Dr. King was against the Vietnam War, he was criticized and ostracized. Marvin Gaye did What's Going On. Music has power when it has meaning to transform. Right. Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder would transform it. So music has that power if it's properly applied.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. King.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My friend Jorge Ortega back here.
Thank you, Jorge, Desmond, and Erica. Thank you very much.
Miami, by the way.
Thank you. Tocayo. I have a question. What do you guys think about an idea of recording a song to launch our STAR campaign in March? A little challenge.
Let's do it right now. Let's write it right now.
Sorry, Claudia.
It'll be done by 4.
I just texted you the question, but I thought I would just ask this illustrious panel.
No, it's a great point. Claudia, we've talked a little bit about that.
And I think that's a great follow-up. Listen, this is important. We're the United Nations. The time is now. We've never been readier, thanks to people like Don Juan Andrade and all the leaders that have brought us to be here, and we're ready to unify. We have this incredible platform, and we admire you both. You're Hispanic stars. Let's give them to the Hispanic stars here. So we launched yesterday this symbol that is a Hispanic star that can unify us all. It's like the rainbow for the LGBTQ. It's just a symbol so that there is no Mexican, Cuban, Puerto Rican, rich, poor, like Democrat or Republican. We're all Hispanics and we're all stars. Could you...
And we're all humans.
And we're all humans. Could you consider doing the Hispanic star song?
We already started it. We're going to do it.
Yes.
Okay. I see a hand.
Okay, we're going to have one last question, and then
All the way
we're
back
going
there.
to allow, if you permit us, because I know that all of you have been very respectful. Everybody wants a photo with Reverend Jackson, with you guys. So we're going to have, after closing this panel, if you stay for 5 minutes of photographs, Reverend Jackson has accepted, and if you can accept, and then we can restart the program so that we're respectful. Okay, go on.
Thank you for the opportunity. Hi, hola.
Hola.
My name is Beatriz Ayala. I'm from Puerto Rico. A bit of context before the question. I am entering the music business, the music industry. I just created a platform called Musicasa, which sole aim is to democratize the music ecosystem, giving a voice to the undiscovered artists. You're in the music business. 91% of artists are undiscovered. And that's a
Very unfortunate.
data point that hasn't changed since 2014, which means that streaming and video platforms, to my belief, is making the famous more famous and the undiscovered to remain undiscovered. What are some of the recommendations you have as I enter this industry and try to help this, new, aspiring, up-and-coming artists on how to, not quit? Well, you get frustrated
So
and you
one
get
Latina
started.
to another.
One Latina to another.
It was hard for me to be a woman in this industry.
Right.
They kept saying to me, change your hair. No, this song is too feminine for a man. And 80% of the market that I have nowadays, and since the beginning of my career, are men. So I think the first thing is to challenge yourself and be truthful to yourself. Understand that if you have a talent, there's going to be ways for you to showcase it. Right. And try to inform yourself as much as you can. Stick to your values. That's what I always say. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of things out there. And make sure you go to bed with a clean consciousness. For me, that's the most important thing because your time is going to come. And besides that, use every single platform you can by being authentic. Whatever is authentic transcends. That's what I think.
Guys, a round of applause for Erica Ender and Desmond Child. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The most downloaded ever song, the father of music, Living La Vida Loca. Give it to the American Desmond. And so, if we can ask you for the 5 minutes photos, if you don't mind, just going to the back, and if you guys want to have a 5-minute break to go to take photos with our Hispanic stars, that would be amazing. ¿Ah?
Yo quiero mi foto con
Venga pues, vamos con Reverend Jackson and everybody 5-minute photo break.
I'm ready. I took a bunch
Oye, escúchame, pero te veo mañana, ¿no? Sí, a mí me gustaría hablar contigo antes porque como tenemos, ¿cómo se llama? Que hablar, no, que tenemos que hablar un poco antes del almuerzo, ¿vale? Entonces, ¿qué tú quieres? O si quieren venir un poco antes, si hablamos por teléfono, lo que quieras. Como se quiera, dale. Yo estoy a tu disposición. Mira, aquí está mi celular. Yo tengo tu celular y tú tienes el mío. Yo te paso un texto, pero I'm at your service. Ay, muchas gracias. A ver,
We have 3 more minutes. So if you don't mind, let's just actually do, I know that you would love to talk. Let's just do photos. Erica and Reverend Jackson, 3 more minutes for photos. Let's get going.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, everyone. Will you please take your seats now? Hello? Please take your seats now.
Erica, come sit next to me. Otherwise, people will never sit down. Come on. Desmond, Laura, bring Desmond this side so that people can sit down. Otherwise, we're never going to start, and we have a program to cover. Okay, we're going to count to 3. We're going to count to 3, and we're going to have either Erica sitting down or, there we go. Okay, 1, Desmond, 2, and 3. Thank you so much for that incredible morning so far. Was that good? Yes? We've been talking a lot about how, okay, I'm gonna ask this side of the room. That would be Desmond. There we go. We're gonna start now. Part of what we've been discussing, a constant overall, is not how many we are, but how young we are. So is it yes? So for anyone that wants to hire and wants to sell in the future, it's key to understand youth. This panel has the intention to open up the conversation. I don't know whether you have noticed, but this year we made an effort to bring 20 young Hispanic stars to be here and have the conversation so that we can actually be listening to their voices. So I'm thrilled to actually have this panel to talk about that with luminaries like Umbran Beba from PepsiCo and Dr. Juan Andrade. So please, everybody, give them a huge round of applause to kick it off.
Hello. All right. Well, I wrote an intro to this, but you pretty much just said all of it. But I'm Michelle. I work for We Are All Human. We, over the last day and a half, have heard lots of data, which was our goal. But 2 of the points that stuck out to me and as relates to this discussion are that the median age for the Hispanic community is 28, and that over the last 6 years, Hispanics have accounted for 75% of labor force growth. So considering these, the Hispanic community is undoubtedly becoming and will continue to be the future workforce of America. With this in mind, as Claudia mentioned, it's imperative for companies and leaders to understand how to attract, reach, and support the development of this young community of professionals, as well as understand who they are and what they care about in general. So what better way to do that than to ask them directly? So I'm excited to have next to me both Laura and Carla, who are 2 incredible young professionals who joined us here today, as well as both Umran and Dr. Juan Andrade, who are 2 role model leaders for everyone here. We're excited to have this kind of casual format conversation where we're going to provide these leaders the opportunity to ask questions to the young professionals to pretty much help everyone here get the answers to the questions that the companies have all been wanting to ask of how they can find these young talent, keep them, and support them. So with that in mind, Umran, I'd love to pass it over to you to ask the first question.
Hey, such a pleasure. Thank you. And Claudio, again, it's great to be on the stage. And especially this time, we are with the young professionals. We recently concluded our organization health survey, and we have an inclusion index, engagement, of course, belonging, and bringing true self to work. And we have, very strong results, like belonging around 80%. But I want to understand from the young professionals, Hispanic, future workforce, what does it mean for you, sense of belonging, bringing true self to work?
Well, I can kick it off. I just want to thank for the opportunity to be here. For me, it's such an incredible moment to, after 4 years of immigrating to North America, see myself on a panel. That's something I would never expect to happen. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It really means a lot. And I would say, be my true self. I think there's just 2 components that have been in my mind throughout the summit. I've seen a lot of the Hispanic stars coming from the first generation of immigrants, and I think being myself the generation, right? That I came here when I was 24 years old. I'm now 30 years old. I came without anyone, no money, just with the idea to learn English, and then has been just a cascade of opportunities. I think that has been possible by being my true self. But it's really difficult to do so when you don't have someone by your side, someone to look up to. And I believe within the workforce, if we're talking about companies and corporations, I have had the opportunity to work with big corporations like UPS and other big logistics companies. And it's important to have by your side people that make you feel comfortable. So I think the culture of the company, if you understand millennials, I was reading the other day, there's an article that we say we are the generation that understands and cares about the SDGs. If you ask millennials, they know what the SDGs are. We want to drive sustainability, and I believe that's something I personally would be looking in a corporation. But more than that, as a Hispanic, I think, we have this energy, we have this drive, and it's not only because of my background and my culture, it's also as a young person, you have this innovation mindset. I believe to be my true self, companies need to change this relationship that we used to have before. Your parents used to go to work at age 25, stayed in the company for 30 years, and then retired. I think that something is changing that are not our plans. We have this innovation mindset. We want to be entrepreneurs. So I believe if you want to keep someone in your company, a young professional like me, for a long time, I wouldn't say 30 years, but keeping someone in the workforce for a long time, you have to allow them to thrive, innovate, and encourage entrepreneurship. I think that has to be encouraged. You see a lot of startups, you see a lot of entrepreneurs coming from the young generation, but I don't see entrepreneurs being showcased. And I think someone yesterday from the public asked this question: how do you make sure you know who these leaders are? Myself being part of a big corporation, they're hierarchical, and that's just the way they are. For me to have a conversation with the CEO, it's just not happening. And I remember my first day at job, my dream is to work in sustainability. Thankfully, I'm going to do that starting January. But I said, you know what? Let me just write an email to the Chief Sustainability Officer. Why not? And then I did on my first day. I did have not a reply, and I understand it's not her or his fault because they received thousands of emails, but I believe we need to have these direct communications that allow young people to be their true self, because young people, we're not afraid. We ask questions, and that's who we are. And then multiply that by a couple of numbers, and you get a Hispanic young person that wants to break those. I would say we're talking about integration and walls, but within these hierarchical big corporations, there's so many walls we need to break to empower young people.
Absolutely. Carla, do you want to add anything, or do you want the next one? Yeah, go ahead. No, I definitely want to add. So I think bringing myself to work was something that I had to work on, especially when I started. I worked at a large financial corporation, and so when I initially started, I thought I had to hide myself at work. I come from a background. I didn't start at an Ivy League school, which a lot of people in financial corporations, so I thought, did. I came from an immigrant background. I came from a part of the country where a lot of these corporations don't even recruit, and so when I got the job, I was first surprised. But secondly, when I started, I thought that I was going to have to become this corporate America woman, come in and know all these things. Day one, I was fascinated at what a VC was. I was the phones are interesting. None of these things that my schools taught me were so interesting to me. But what I realized was what we talked about yesterday was that impostor syndrome, where everything that I thought that I had to do did not exist. I had incredible men and women around me that were Hispanic, that had very similar backgrounds to mine, whether it was from an immigration or an educational standpoint. And I didn't have to pretend to be somebody that I wasn't. And my company had conversations around having to not pretend to be who you aren't. And so, I think it's important for companies to start that dialogue, to say you need to bring your whole self to work. And if you don't bring your whole self to work, what are the mechanisms that we can put in place so that you can? I know there's a ton of CEOs or C-suite executives at large corporations here. My company definitely has CEOs and C-suite executives that say that. That does not mean that the managers in the company embody that. And so just because you think your company is doing it, make sure that you have controls in place, surveys, whatever it is, anonymous surveys, so that the younger population feels empowered enough to say, I don't actually feel that what you think is happening at this company is happening. Because a lot of times
especially a lot of my friends work at places, large corporations, where their CEOs go on record saying, you know, I care about diversity, I care about impact, I care about the environment, and then I hear from them and their managers are telling them completely opposite things. And so just make sure that you have those controls in place because, you know, I think it's really important.
Awesome. Dr. Andrade, I pass it over to you for your question.
Oh, yes. Got it. Thank you, Victor. And thank you, Michelle and Claudia. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here on this panel, if for no other reason to be here with y'all. I've learned more about y'all in the last 5 minutes than I have in the last 5 years. I'm one of those that kind of slow learner a little bit. It took me 50 years to earn 5 degrees, you know, that kind of thing, kind of slow. But, you know, we were from the baby boomer generation, and we were the first educated generation of the Latino community because of the GI Bill, you know, for veterans. And they opened the doors to college. But the rest of us went on to become activists in the community. It was a strong sense of community. We wanted to change things, challenge the status quo, pass the Voting Rights Act, pass the Civil Rights Act, the Bilingual Education Act, repeal the poll tax. My father would ask me, why y'all, ¿por qué hacen tanto ruido del poll tax? ¿Qué es eso? I said, Dad, you have to pay $1.75 to register to vote, whether you vote or not. If you don't vote, you don't get a refund. You lose $1.75. And that's unfair to poor people. And he looked at me, being a Mexican immigrant, and he said, sí, tienes razón, mijo, pero mira, la mera verdad, the truth is that Mexicans are smart. That's why we don't register to vote. So, you know, we had a communication gap already here, a generational gap that I feel like we're revisiting, but let me finish that story. He said, and I said, pero, ¿cómo dice, papá? ¿Por qué dice eso? He said, because Mexicans are smart. We know there's nobody running that's worth $1.75. That's why we don't pay $1.75. So we got the poll tax repealed so people could register to vote. Those were the kind of things. We created organizations. We didn't have the National Council of La Raza Unidos U.S. We didn't have LULAC, the GI Forum. And Cesar Chavez hadn't yet started the Farm Workers Union. But we were the kinds of activists like that. We wanted to change the world and level the playing field and all these kind of things. And for the last 50 years, for all intents and purposes, not just Latinos, but Latinos and blacks and everybody else, we ran this country. Baby boomers ran America. Nobody could do anything or go anywhere without, you know, baby boomers having something to say about it. And then all of a sudden, a group emerges that outnumbers us. They're called millennials. And, you know, and so my question to y'all is and I appreciate your opening remarks. Who are y'all? And what are y'all all about? And what do you know, and this is what the insight that you just gave me was really a good introduction. So take it from there.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So I think what I'll do is, I think what's funny, I think people use the category millennials so widely, and I think when you actually look at the years, the age gap, you could have somebody who's just graduating college, and you can have somebody who's like mid-30s, has, you know, multiple kids, and the things that they want and the things that they need are so different. But what I will say, especially like gearing it towards the workplace, because I know that that's what we're talking about, is personally what I see amongst like my fellow millennials, the things that we care about and the things that we want are like a few things, right? So empathetic leadership is first. I think we're probably one of the first generations that can see a CEO speak and immediately call BS. Like we know that they're marketing, or we know that they actually care about the people or the products that they're starting to sell. And so that's the first thing. Like we want to work for and support and spend our money towards corporations that we feel like CEOs and C-suite executives actually care and aren't just doing it for marketing purposes, period. Second is diversity and inclusion, right? So I think it's so easy for a company to find 5 diverse people in their company, take a picture of them in a cute boardroom, slap that picture on a website and say, like, look at my great diverse company, right? I think we owe it to our community through the recruiting process or through like our entire like job process to say, okay, what does that look like actually in your company? Like, are the people that are interviewing me, are they actually diverse? And then when you're going through the interviewing process, like asking those questions, saying like, what does the diversity look like on my team? Does that actually reflect the diversity at the firm or at the company that I'm about to work for? Do you have organizations, groups, networks within the company that support Hispanics, Blacks, people with disabilities, LGBT community? Those are the things that show you that a company actually cares, not just because they throw a recruiter at you that looks like you so that you feel a little more comfortable in the room, right? And then the last thing is the corporate social responsibility piece. I know we're at the UN. You can clearly see the SDGs outside. As we've mentioned before, we care about them. Millennials care about them. We know what they are. We want companies supporting those SDGs. And that doesn't mean that we're going to go and just only work for nonprofits. That means that we want to work for those S&P 500 companies that are putting resources, not just financially, but intellectually, into making the world a better place, and not just coming out with a statement saying, I donated $10,000 to this corporation that helps Hispanic women, in tech. That means sending Hispanic women that work in those technology companies to the communities that have predominantly Hispanic women in high schools and teaching them what tech means or what their background is and that they can be those people. And so it's not just words anymore. I think it's action, and that's kind of what we're demanding these days.
I think that's great. I think that's a big part of who we are, but I would like to bring also the attention to millennials, Hispanics, immigrants, right? I think one thing is to immigrate here, as probably some of your parents did, and immigrating like myself at age 24, when you already have a professional background, when you're an engineer, and your parents back home paid you for that education. So I think it's important also for us as a community to understand how can we support our millennial Hispanics that just came to this country. I think we've talked a lot about education, but something that I haven't seen a lot is continued education. How can we take, for me, for instance, I was able to finish my master's degree, working a part-time job, as many of us do during our recent immigration years in the service industry, and then going to class at night, because that's just the reality. But we need continued education, sometimes provided by companies. So I think it's important to uplift our millennials, immigrants, into this new world. I believe it's important for companies to help us use our skills. Sometimes people ask me, what did you study in Colombia? And, how are you already working on that? And I think people expect you to come here and then transition to any other kind of job. For them, it's difficult to integrate, and they expect always the first generation to be that generation. So I believe specifically when it comes to Hispanics, millennials, immigrating to this country, it's important to take the skills they already have, because some of us already have a bachelor's degree, and help them just transition quickly with these certificates, with continued education to help them transition. And something that I will bring in terms of our values for millennials, and I don't think it's only Hispanic millennials. We do care about the SDGs. We do care about sustainability. We would even quit a job if it doesn't align with our values. So if you really want to keep this workforce, be mindful of what they believe on and support them, because they would rather earn less money than work for a company that doesn't align with their values.
Absolutely. So we have 5 minutes left, so I want to turn the tables back. And so we're going to have the young professionals ask Umran and Dr. Andrade some questions. So Carla, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. So can you talk a little bit about what you or your companies are doing to promote or empower young professionals, and specifically Hispanic young professionals?
Let me take this. Yeah, I will take that first. Thank you. I mean, whatever I heard is great. So it is the good news. It's aligned with our thinking. But as you said, I think thinking is not enough. Also, we should be able to share the actions and make sure they are authentic. They are convincing, right? So, and that's the era. It has been a while like that. I think this whole idea of transparency. So with that, I would like to say, first of all, how do we get the talent into our organization? We have different levels of doing that, but especially if you look at the professional organization we have, campus graduate is the biggest pipeline. And then we have, of course, management, executive or higher level recruitments also, but the main numbers will be from the campus and the graduate. And when that happens, we look at different numbers, what is the different ethnic groups representation in the workforce, but that changes dramatically from state to state or city to city in the United States. So you can't be just blanket say, okay, the potential is 9%, go and get to 9%. In some states, as we know, it can be much higher. So we have an algorithm where we look at those opportunities and try to hit those when we go to the campuses and graduates. Recruitment. And the best, I think, working system is the internships. We talked about it yesterday, getting the young people into the organization, making sure they understand us, we understand them, and at the end, they can get an opportunity to get an offer and stay and continue actually living through that experience, which actually has the purpose agenda, growth agenda, development agenda in it. But I think that 1 year of internship normally gives you a very good sense of who we are and what you are looking for. I think that's very important. And then, of course, the retention rate with the interns and turning into employees is very important. But specifically for Hispanics, we have also our employee resource group called Adelante, and some of our team members are here in the room, and they will make sure that you feel at home with some of their initiatives, and we support them. Of course, we have in total 10 employee resource groups, and Adelante is one of them, but also very, I should say, very dynamic and active. So that's going to be another category. And diversity and inclusion team organizes different programs with our partners, like We Are All Human is one of our partners, or HASER, or a few others. So you will go to their development programs and benefit from different levels of, mid-level management or higher-level management programs, and bring that knowledge back. And then on top of everything else, I would say, we are a consumer goods company. At the end of the day, our mission is to represent our consumers, customers, communities, the society that we are in. If we don't do that, every day we should be really targeting closing those gaps, and then making sure that the inclusive environment is created. And again, that's an endless effort. You can't just hit it and move on. It's every day. It's at the manager level, as you say. It is not about having a broad number, 80%, 90%. It's at the manager level. You have to make sure it's happening. And the last point, I believe, is how do we work with our communities? Because if we don't live with our communities and support them, I don't think the equation will be complete. So that's what we try to do, and I'm sure there is a lot to do more. And with people like you, I think we get that energy. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, we have time for one more question. And so I know your question, and so for your answers, we're going to need to stick to one in terms of what she's going to ask, but we'll keep, so.
I think, my question will probably more towards to you. It's, I just want you to go back in time and remember yourself when you had my age. And I'll tell you, I'm the average Latina. I'm 30 years old, living in North America. And what will be an advice that you would have given to yourself, or what was an advice that brought you to the point that you are, or a tactic? Like, what can you share with me that then I could be sitting and having all the, influence that you have had in this community when I'm your age?
Oh, thank you. Wow, that's an interesting question. It takes me back a long way, because when I was your age, I was still in the wilderness. I spent 10 years in the wilderness, what I call the wilderness. This was a period of time where you kind of hone your skills. You learn how to write. You learn how to organize. You learn how to do things. And so I spent 10 years learning how to do what I've been doing ever since. So that was kind of like chasing the dream for 10 years. I caught up with it in the 10th year, and in the last 40 years, I've been living the dream. Living the dream because it was all about empowering our community. That's why I exist. I didn't have a job. I had a mission. I had a purpose in life. It wasn't a job. And I worked at it for the last 30 years, 95 hours a week. Because I figure when I die, I'll have plenty of time to sleep. When I'm awake, it's about business, about working, organizing, promoting education, doing leadership development. registering people to vote. To that end, we've registered 2.3 million new voters. The last 140,000 were naturalized citizens that we registered in Chicago. And 1.3 million students from junior high to high school and college have been trained through our leadership development programs. In Chicago, the majority of voters are under the age of 29. It's remarkable, a little younger than you. But yet they comprise the majority because we had a program that's called Students for an Educated Democracy. We took the program to the high schools, to where the teachers taught our curriculum to students. And those students registered to vote. We had mock elections in the schools. When the city voted for mayor, the students voted for mayor. When they voted for governor, students voted for governor. When they voted for president, they voted for president. When they graduated, they had 3 major elections under their belt. So now it's time to register to vote. Where? Aquí, mira, we're going to register you right here at high school. And they turned out to vote. And now they comprise the majority of voters in the city of Chicago. It's that kind of thing.
Do you have the one piece of advice to Do you have one piece of advice to receive?
Oh, one piece of advice. Okay. Yes. Y'all are on a fast track. How I can tell, I'm not all that perceptive, but y'all talk so fast, you're going to get there fast. I kid you not. I've never heard anybody speak as fast as y'all do. And, which is fine, not to worry.
What's
Y'all
so funny, I was excited about this panel because I speak so fast and I'm always told that, but I was like, the Hispanic population at the very least will be able to understand me. So
there you go. All right,
I'm okay.
Absolutely. And don't worry about me, I'll figure it out, along the way. I have grandchildren who kind of explain things to me. And, but, people say that I've reached the top. And I guess some people can say that. I don't talk about it, but being the 4th Hispanic in the history of the Latino community to be decorated by both the President of the United States and the government of Mexico, there's only 5 total, and I was the 4th one. And it kind of worried me because the first 3 were already dead. And what I found in my path, it's not about how high you reach. It's about how wide you can reach. Take our community with you. Take our community with you. Take others with you. Measure your impact by how wide you reach, not by how high you climb. Because if you reach wide enough, the height will take care of itself. Man, there you go.
Well, thank you, everybody. We're going to move on to the last piece of the programming. Thank you, guys.
Is this on or off?
This is the absolute last piece of the program, but we've been building upon, and we wanted to leave this last. Pepe Aguilar, please join me. We wanted to leave this to last because this is where we're going to explain the campaign, the Hispanic Star campaign, and we're going to open up the details, and we're going to tell you where you can participate. If you want to participate, we're going to be brief and to the point. We're going to try to explain what the campaign is, and bear with me because I don't have the screen with me. Maybe if Andrea can actually sit here with me and I can see the slides. But so I want to start by saying Pepe Aguilar represents GRAY, WPP, and this is the agency that came up with that brilliant idea of the symbol. This is a donation, a multi-million-dollar donation to our community. So I want to start by saying thank you so much, Pepe Aguilar. Last slides. So we're going to start by telling you about the Hispanic Star. If Ricardo can actually start with the slides, please. And again, bear with us. I know that we said we're going to finish at 1. We're going to finish just 10 minutes after that. So this is the Hispanic Star Workshop. and we're going to move into talking about what we said yesterday. It's all about one symbol that unites us all, because we need that unification, and because we all together can use this. This is a framework for us. This is a present for all of us to actually get our creative juices going. As long as we have a platform, as long as we have a framework, we've been talking about the Sustainable Development Goals as a framework. This is it. This is for us. Next one. So 77, this comes with the idea that 77%, the insight, the problem, if you want, comes with the idea that 77% of all of us, of all Hispanics, through the Hispanic Sentiment Study, have no idea of their own contributions to the country. Everything you heard, everything you learned in the last 2 days, the size of our community, the size of our wallet, our age, our power, 77% of our community doesn't know that. So therefore, we cannot feel powerful because we don't know about our power. And that is the thing that we've been trying to address.
Before we go on with the Hispanic Star, I want to thank you all, because in these 2 days, we've seen such a warm welcome to the concept. It's incredible feeling to see all of you people so excited with Hispanic Star. So thank you, and of course thank you, Claudia. I couldn't be happier to be part of this. As Claudia said, what we're doing is we're creating a platform to showcase the contribution of the Hispanic community to the U.S. But it's not just about the past. It's not just about discovering all the Hispanic stars that have been here in the past and in the present. It's also about understanding that the Hispanic community is a driving force shaping the future of this country. So the concept that we want to work on, the way that we will empower the Hispanic community, is by realizing that in the past we've been divided. We come from different countries. Some Hispanics were born here. Some others were born elsewhere. There's different levels of acculturation. So of course there's reasons why we don't feel united as one community. But the way to empower our community is to make it understand that we don't win until we all win as a unity. And but what does it mean to be an Hispanic in America? How do we want to be seen by ourselves and by others? And this is where the concept comes in. A star is the most American thing. If we start with a star, it is what we want to be, both as individuals, as a collective part of the larger collective that is America. So this is the thing that unites us. It unites us in setting a goal for us in the present and the future. But what about what divides us? So of course what divides us is Español. If a person from, let's say, Australia walks in today here, that person will be accepted almost as an honorary American because of language. But if you think about Hispanics, first there's a lot of things that sets us apart because of stereotypes, and we're going to fight that too. But the other thing is Español. So
and Portuguese.
And Portuguese, yes. So a lot of people here have told stories about arriving here and dealing with the differences of culture and of language. So you know that the immediate moment that you start speaking Spanish, other people might think that you are from another place, even if you were born here. So Spanish is a thing that divides us from the rest, but also it's the thing that unites us regardless of where we come from. So by using these two powerful symbols that are apparently a contradiction, that's what gave way to creating the Hispanic Star. And the Hispanic Star is a symbol that it's new. You have not seen it before, but it looks very familiar. You look at it and you see, hey, you know, it's something that is easy to love and feel as ownable, as my own, like right away. It's immediately becomes something that unites us towards a common goal of what we want to be and how we want to be seen. So the Hispanic Star is also the setup for a new vision about ourselves. We are forming a nation that is made of stars, and each one of you are stars. If we manage to make the Hispanic community see ourselves as this, as stars that are part of larger America, then we are perfect to go on to shape the future. So we've been saying about this amazing Big Bang launch that we're gonna do in March. This is probably the second, third time that we mention it. We are setting it up. It's gonna be it's gonna be amazing. It's not figured out completely yet, and that's one of the reasons that we can't share with you at this point. But be for sure certain that you will all be invited to participate in one way or the other for that launch. So if we manage to do this Big Bang launch for the Hispanic Star, that is perfect because it will create the buzz that we need to create the platform and set it up for the future. But we also need to inspire our community. And the way to inspire it is to also create a campaign launch that will support the Hispanic Star. This campaign launch will inspire and will educate by giving examples of Hispanic stars. Hispanic stars present and past. And what you're seeing on the screen are just some examples. For example, you'll see an astronaut, a Hispanic astronaut, or a World War hero Hispanic group, or a Nobel Prize winner, or a Supreme Justice that is Hispanic.
Dr. Juan Andrade, Victor Arias, Dr. Betty, all of our stars.
Claudia, too. So you can easily imagine that this list goes on and on and on. And many of the Hispanic community doesn't know that these Hispanic stars exist. So of course we're gonna empower them with things that they can believe in and say, you know what? We Hispanics have given a lot to this country, and we have made it, helped make it as great as it is today. So, but of course we understand that this campaign can only live if it lives in social. And that means that it has to live on your phones and everyone's phones. So by sharing and participating and being part of the larger community that is gonna be created after the launch is the best way to support the cause, by sharing and letting other people know.
So we're here to actually ask you that question that I asked yesterday, to become a Hispanic Star ambassador. We will only manage to do this if we are all in and if we take ownership. I am a fanatic of symbols. I've been actually creating symbols probably like all across, and every time that there's community behind it, that there's power, they win, they fly, and they help. I was privileged enough to be working, for example, in the creation of Product Red, a campaign that was attached to the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, where you can actually have one product red choice as a consumer. You can choose one product red just by seeing it red. I've been, like behind the creation and the launch of the Sustainable Development Goals, creating that incredible symbol, making it famous. It gives a framework. It gives everybody the sense that we belong. So I believe in symbols, and I need you to believe in that, like this can help us. We're very inspired by the LGBTQ community, seeing how the rainbow actually has helped actually the transformation really, not only of the LGBTQ members, but people that want to be supported. And so that's part of what we want to do. So the question is, could you actually again accept to become a Hispanic Star ambassador? Yes. All right. So here it goes. This is what we're going to be giving you. We have, you saw it yesterday. We're not doing this alone. We're doing it with a coalition, with an alliance of people, very much guided by donations, like multi-million-dollar donations, such as Gray, but such as Gray and WPP, but not only. So we will need Umbran Beba to be our champion for PepsiCo. We will need, like people supporting us from corporations, from tech, from individuals, on schools, on religious leaders. Let me tell you what we will give you, because in order for you to be able to be, it's almost like an army, you need to be equipped. And so here are the 5 things that we're going to give you. We're going to give you what it's called the movement values, or the campaign values. What we are, what we're not, what we believe, what we're not. We're inclusive. It's not about we and them. It's all about us. We're happy. We have no pain. This is not like Black Lives Matter where we're complaining. We're celebrating. And so it's all about that. We're also going to give you a brand book that contains everything that you want to know about this brand, about this particular symbol, the colors, the sizes, the textures, how you can apply it, examples, everything that you need if you're a designer, if you're, if you're in fashion, if you're like in tech, if you want to take this forward. We're going to give that to you, and we're going to give that to you in January so that we can get people ready for March. We're also going to be giving you a toolkit that will ideally be ready by February. And that toolkit will have literally as much as our imagination can give, templates for newsletters, sending it to your, massive followers. Everybody here has an incredible number of followers. Dr. Juan Andrade, Ursli, we have Shipe with their 64,000, ASE with your 64,000 members. We have, HRC. Everyone that has following, we will equip you. We'll also give you a PSA video. If you're in television, our friends from Telemundo, our friends from Univision, our friends from CNBC and CBS and everyone, you can run these ads for us. We're going to give you social media material, infographics, infoflex, everything that you need as a toolkit. Imagine that as a toolkit so that you can actually create everything else. And then the biggest toolkit that we're going to be giving you is for Hispanic Heritage Month. We've mentioned that before, but Hispanic Heritage Month is sort of like dull and dormant. It's a check the box for a number of people with, we've said it before, why not again, with bad margaritas, and crunchy tacos. That's not what we should do. What we should do with Hispanic Heritage Month is convert it into Pride Month, similar to that, which is seeing the Hispanic symbol in every window, in every desk, in every T-shirt, just having that as an opportunity to come out and celebrate that we're a Hispanic star, that I myself am one, that the company that I work is a Hispanic star company supporting Hispanic stars, that we're everyone. And Gabby Natali said it very well. So that's what we're going to be giving you. We're going to give you tools. We're going to give you guidance, and we're going to give you timelines. Here's what we need. What we need is 5 different things, like a handout there. So what we really need, and this is again following what we did in launching the Sustainable Development Goals, is we need noise. We need the Hispanic star to be famous. We need to be like there's no way that you can miss it. As of March 26, particularly for the first couple of days, we will need to make noise. And this is a community that knows how to make noise, yes? Yes. So outreach is the number 1, is noise. It's about everything that we need, is activating your networks, the ambassadors, Gavi, influencers, religious leaders, schools, party, community centers. If you're in a school, host a classroom, talk to different people. If you're on a board, if you're like in Airbnb, ERGs, we will need everyone to make noise. Outreach is the number 1 of the 5. Media space. Everyone, I know someone in PR. I'm going to try to influence that PR person on, on Edelman, but try to get media space coverage, PR, everything that we need to bring the community to life. We were lucky actually to have a couple of advertisement pieces in the Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times just to put the stamp out there, the Hispanic star. So if you have media connections, if you know PR, if you have actually your outreach, part of your advertisement money could be actually devoted a tiny bit, just with 0.5% of your marketing, budget for Hispanic Heritage Month. That would be amazing. Corporate, we will need partnerships, corporate comms, again, newsletter, product design, merchandising, everything that you want to see. Imagine Hispanic Heritage Month activated through the lens of your corporation. Storytelling, that's probably one of the most fundamentals that we have. We are a community that works hard. We're not a community that self-advocate and goes out and speak. So I'm asking you to be uncomfortable. in doing the storytelling for yourself and for the people that you know. I'm asking you to tell why are you a Hispanic star. You saw 7 or 8 of them this week. These 2 days. We want to see them all. We want to see in your Facebook videos of yourself saying, these are the things why I'm a Hispanic star. We want to see that on the field. We will probably provide you filters for your social media as well, saying the Hispanic star, but we need actually for you to step up in the storytelling, not only about yourself, but about others. And this is the time to call in the allies. This is when we need the allies coming so that they can give us the platform, so that they can say you're a Hispanic star, so that they can buy into it. And the last thing is we will obviously need funding so that this can really be the beginning of the rest of our lives. The last generation that is invisible and is not respected, we will need to scale it up. So we'll need corporations, foundations, and everyone to actually come and step up. So if you know of, like companies that are interested, we have created a trust so that this is not a We're Human thing, this is a community thing, this is a Hispanic Star Trust. And all the funding will be there to sustain not only the campaign, but any other effort that we actually manage to get the campaign together. So far, so good? Yes. All right, let's go to the timeline. I'm not going to take questions now. Let's go to the timeline. On this one, this is the interesting part. We launched an advertisement piece on December 6th, just a couple of days before, on the Wall Street Journal, on the Financial Times, as a legal framework, just to put out there. It's trademark. The Hispanic Star is a trademark that belongs to all of us. Number 2, we announced it here at the United Nations. We're going to be providing you the brand, like the tools that we spoke. In January, the brand book. In February, the toolkit. And then the Big Bang. If we manage to get this Big Bang going, which I hope that we will, then in that period of time, it's almost like whenever you launch something that the first couple of days matter. If you are on board, sign up to the newsletter, to sign up in our website to become an ambassador, and we will be feeding you with information and the timelines and the progress that we're making. But if we do manage to get that Big Bang, we will need a couple of days, if not a week, of intensity. And we know how to be intense, so I have no hesitation. And then we will actually just need to continue doing that. So, continue for a couple of months. We're going to go and imagine if we launch, the Super Bowl is going to be in February. Then we launch this in March. And the Super Bowl is important because we have Shakira and J-Lo for the first time. And then we're going to launch this in March. That ideally, there's no way you can miss it. And then we're going to go away for a couple of months until we go to the Cannes Advertisement Festival to talk to the ear of every advertiser, of every brand, of every company, so that they cannot not see it. The Hispanic Star will be present. And so if you start putting the pieces, February, March, June, we have a half a year. And then we're going to go into preparation for Hispanic Heritage Month, where ideally all of us can gather even more people so that Hispanic Heritage Month can be really a big deal. And we are super glad actually to be able to, at the end of the day, at the end of the year, come here to the United Nations. I heard you all, well, I didn't hear you, you voted all, that you wanted to have the Hispanic Heritage Month before the election. We're going to come back here. We're going to go to the bigger room. Now we're many more. So we're going to go to the bigger room, to the General Assembly room, and we're going to have a gala celebrating the Hispanic Star. So that's the timeline. How does that sound? And so this is the time in which we're going to be opening it up. We mentioned that yesterday. We're going to be opening it up. Every one of you will have, there are 3 ways in which we want to open it up for you. One is you have a pledge card. I want to see everybody that you don't have an opportunity to talk. If you don't have any, if you have an idea, and I saw a hand over there, if you have an idea that you want to put, this is the right way to do it. Number 2, we're going to have our very famous, Ricardo, we're going to have our very famous voting device where we're going to be capturing on the 5 different ways to pledge. We're going to pass 1 slide for outreach, 1 slide for funding, 1 slide for storytelling, and so on. So number 1, pledge. Number 2, we're going to be asking you to fill out those forms. And number 3, the microphone. So Pepe and I are going to be monitoring, we're going to be responding to you. So if you don't mind, we're going to start by opening it up, first of all, to have 5 minutes of overall reactions. please, can you give us your comments, your feedback, like a couple of people that want to just react to the campaign?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvonne Diaz-Clays. 12 years ago, I decided to leave my career to make sure all Latino professionals share their stories. I'm celebrating today. Many of the role models that have stepped into classrooms are here with me today, so I want to thank them for believing in that. And I want to share with you our commitment to, this is a dream come true for me. 12 years sharing stories in the classroom. We have shared 1,300 stories. And this is a wonderful campaign that can, it's a dream come true for us. So
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I saw a couple of hands over there. Yeah. Lily. Yes, you're on. Actually, you're not on.
Okay.
There you go. Now
Is it on now? Oh, yeah, wow, so loud. Again, my name is Angelica Martinez. I work for the United States Senate, and I think this is a great way to, unify our community. And however, I am worried a little bit about including our undocumented community. I'm a DACA recipient myself, and when I was undocumented, we talk about we need more Hispanics in the boardrooms, we need more of this, but as undocumented people, we don't have access to that. So I just want to hear a little more or make that, have that awareness as we're pushing this campaign to make sure we're including, all the undocumented folks.
Thank you. I saw a couple of folks. Yes.
Hello. So I'm Isabel Garcia. I am Hispanic, and I'm also a member of the LGBT community. And so if you are interested in really using a lot of that information and using what we were able to do, what about a parade during Hispanic Heritage Month?
Parade.
Because that was one of the things that really, how it started, right? It started with a very small parade of people walking, and then it got big, and so that's really how it has grown.
Right. Awesome. Yes.
Great. My name is Angela Del Sol, and I came up with the idea of a campaign called Own Your Accent, because what we all have in common is the Spanish language, but what Latinos have, we have our difference are our accents, but our accents are not just the way that we speak, but it's also our style and the way that we have all created our own niches in different industries. So I think that this campaign, along with Own Your Accent, could be the answer, getting to have influencers and different people in media showing how they have owned their accents. And I like that the star also has the accent, the ñ. So I think it would be really interesting to collaborate. I've worked with huge communities like Summit Series, TED, and many big organizations. So I would love to find ways to co-create with you guys and bring this to life.
And this is actually one very important point. I know that they're security is about to come to to kick us out, but we're gonna go through the commitments. I just want to say one thing. This is crowdsourcing. So when you think co-create, it's like you got it. I mean, we have the framework. It's like the SDGs. You go and have fun, seeing how what you have could actually correlate and coexist and be part of a big umbrella. The only thing that we're advocating for is that we all speak with the same language, that we sing from the same song sheet, and then everybody can actually add their different elements. And if you have a campaign, I'm sure that there's a way to correlate it, because I think, that's where we're unidos, we're strong. So if we can actually have the same narrative. I know there are a number of hands, but I also know that security is about to come. So can we actually just start getting into pledges, commitments, concrete ideas for outreach? We're going to be collecting ideas for outreach right now. So you have your cards, you have the slides. Can I have two commitments on outreach? People that actually are saying, I commit to giving you, I don't know, maybe public transportation advertisement, or I don't know, maybe, please. Yeah, do we want to take two comments? Yeah. So it's under the mic, the bottom under the mic. There you go.
Wonderful. First of all, I want to say this tilde
This accent is amazing. The first thing I did when I walked in is I put the tilde. I'm Yvette Peña from AARP, and I put the tilde on my badge. I do that at every Latino conference, and I think everybody who's here, I'm not going to name names.
Commitment.
They need to have the tilde on the ñ. Commitment. Through AARP, we have over 35 million members, and I pledge to use our owned and operated channels to send this message, in addition to the list of influencers that we have, from millennials all the way to the 50+.
Excellent, 30,000. Yes, perfect. Can we have another commitment on outreach out there?
Head of global design for Zach. So we do Mophie, we do product Red products that we do at the Apple Store and globally. And so for me, the commitment is to bring that back to our organization, to be able to use the Hispanic star symbol so we can have product that people love and use every day, not just because of what, because they love it, but to also have an additional level of connection to the Hispanic community that we can bring across our 7 brands that we develop and we design and we distribute globally.
Fantastic. We're going to, so we're going to have one very passionate hand here, and then we're going to move to media.
Can you hear me? Yes. I'm Guillermo Diaz. I'm the chairman of High Tech, the Hispanic Technology Council. And we pledge that we will be the technology hub for this organization.
Woo! Excellent. Yes, thank you. My understanding is you're the former CIO of Cisco, so
the body isn't cold yet.
Oh, you are still this. Oh. Bring Cisco on board. There we go. Okay, so we're going to move to, I know that we have like a lot of hands and a lot of pledges, but I'm scared they're going to shut us down. So media. Can we open up and change the slide for media? And again, this is not the last opportunity. We're going to be running around. Emma is passing on cards. We have not only the mic, but the slides, but also the website, and we will continue. This is just a moment in time, but the campaign will leave off further on. Pepe, media space.
Hi. Flores Urbello with Bella Fashionistas. Thank you so much. You were one of our Trailblazer series last year. We are committed to helping you and to continue to do this in the future with media. And I know I'm small, but I will be growing by next year. So our audience is going to be way bigger. So you could just come to us, and we are more than happy to create videos for you and also bring you guys for interviews. Absolutely.
Great.
Anyone that has like media space, meaning like advertisement. I know that like Manny Reese is opening. Like that's a kind of like, it would be fantastic. PR, like all of that. Okay, 1 and 2, and then we're gonna move to the next one.
Okay. I have a PR in company here in New York. It's called Azúcar Communications. I pledge to amplifying your PR campaign through my company for free. No,
fantastic.
No
Thank
cost
you.
at all. I'm already working with the folks at Edelman to cover this for our magazine. But believe me, all my contacts are at your disposal.
Perfect. Thank you, Manny.
Oh, wait, can you hear me? Okay, there we go. Claudia, I'll work with you on 2 fronts. So we own Hispanicized Wire, which is not related to the former Hispanicized event. And we will give you all the press releases you need to distribute it to the Hispanic press and organizations for free. That's open-ended. And furthermore, on NostalgiaCon Miami, which is going to have a major Hispanic popular pop culture component, we will work with you to create symbols and everything. So just talk to me about that. We will pledge those 2 platforms.
Thank you so much. That's great. Any more media? Okay, one more media here. And then I want to hear. Yeah, okay, go on. Don't worry, it turns green and then goes red. So when you see the green, don't worry, it's coming. Yeah.
So I'm in Verizon Media, and I pledge to help you with the Huffington Post and Yahoo en Español. And
yes, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Google, we love it.
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Sarah Carberry, Google, YouTube. Obviously, we have an amazing roster of Latino influencers on YouTube, and I think this would be an amazing way to shine a spotlight on their success and their contribution to the community. So just pulling them together on an annual basis, thinking of how do we, embroider that star on their channels, and then thinking about could we do something that is more of a Latino fan fest type of celebration where we bring all of the Latino community together at some type of a concert venue or featuring these creators in person. We've done this with what's called YouTube Black Fan Fest, which has been a huge success, and we bring brand leaders from all parts of the industry as well as the creators and the fans themselves. So it's the perfect trifecta.
So we heard Google on media, on actually activating Hispanic stars on YouTube, but also a concert or some sort. So I heard someone before talking about parade. So if Sarah can actually just stand up for a second so that people that are in that parade concert area can actually talk to her. We're going to move to the next one, which is corporate. And this is where we're talking about partnerships, corporate communications, newsletters, merchandising, etc. This is where through the lens of corporations, think Hispanic Heritage Month. If you produce, cereal bars, maybe there's mango con chile, whatever it is. So corporate, anyone that, I know that you cannot commit on behalf of your corporations without going back and so on. These could be ideas that you are like, okay, you know what? We can actually start exploring at whatever it is. Like if you're a tech company, we can start exploring this and this and that. Anyone on corporate? Yes, Judith?
So for MAPCO Worldwide, we've got an international advisory council that brings together about 300 very well-known people, former heads of state, ministers, CEOs, not just from the US, but globally. So again, with checking, but I'm pretty sure that we'd be able to commit to reaching out to them and kind of broadening the network and getting them informed about this campaign and hopefully to be ambassadors as well.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Yes. Yes, just wait.
Yeah, this is Karine Ramani. I currently work at Google. I have a very good network of Latino leaders at the employment resource groups for different companies in the Silicon Valley. We always think about, they give us a budget to do stuff during Hispanic Heritage Month, and this will be an idea that I could present to them to see if all of us could have these represented in any way. We usually get T-shirts for Hispanic Heritage Month, so I don't know if I will try to talk out to see if we can get the symbol as well.
Yes, awesome. And there are some people in fashion here, designers, creatives, street artists. I am super interested in the en las bodegas. If that's the kind of thing where we need the grassroots activation of having everybody, imagine the graffitis in the street, imagine, the public transportation ads, imagine, designers. So I think that there's one more on corporate, and then we're going to move to the next one. One more corporate.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Lisbeth from Motel 6. I already requested a meeting with my CEO. So make sure that we have that, what they said yesterday, make sure we all don't wait for permission, just get in.
Yes, awesome. We would love to actually have hotels and so on in the windows of the hotels. The way that you have, stores pride, why not aspire to do something like that? Excellent. Shall we move, Pepe, to storytelling? Okay, storytelling is going to be a hard one because everybody, I want just like everybody to commit to tell your own story. But if there's anything in particular that you think that we can talk about here, Pepe, what do you think? Like artists, trendsetters?
Absolutely. This will only come alive if the trendsetters of the world, the celebrities of the world participate. So you might be well connected to provide us with celebrities that want to participate and endorse. There's going to be different activities that we'll do throughout the year. So the bigger the better, because that's how we'll expand it to the rest of the community out there.
And the question there, I know there's one person there, and the question, if you can tell us what you need so that you can do the storytelling, what can we meaning Pepe, produce so that you guys can actually, be a storyteller. So we're going to have that. And then I would like to hear feedback. What do you need in storytelling?
Before you start, that's important. We will provide you with toolkits and stuff that is designed to fit all. But you might have an interesting opportunity, and we can co-create something really, really interesting and different because of your particular area of expertise or the connections that you have. So please do step up to let us know what you have.
Okay, we're going to take one, and then we're going to take here. Yes, go on. I think that the gentleman in the back.
Aquí.
One on the way to the right. Come on. It's so hard to get these mics, yeah? Like under the mic. Okay, the lady on the red then.
That was easy. Liana from Bloomberg. So we also, one of the things that I noticed this year was that we were all pretty segmented in Hispanic Heritage Month. We all had our own event, and I think that one of the things that we can definitely do better is if we can unite and, be great marketers to the Hispanic Star. So anyone interested in partnering with Bloomberg to host events, but not just for during Hispanic Heritage Month because it tends to be too busy. But if we can do them throughout the year and partner, we will have a stronger voice.
Can you stay there? That's awesome. Can you stay there? Could you work with us to create almost like a Hispanic Heritage Month package that we can share out with everybody? Would that be welcomed by people if we do a Hispanic Heritage Month sort of like theme with everything that you wanted to do and ask?
Yeah.
Could you commit to that?
I can commit to that.
Excellent.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much. So if Hispanic Heritage Month package, template, whatever it is, come talk to me. Okay, we're going to take that person in the back and then.
Claudia, I'm a film producer in Colombia, and I know that the content needs to be changed. So writers and storytellers back in South America that bring the content into the United States needs to highlight our heroes and our rising stars. So I'd be happy to connect the storytellers, especially in Colombia, to help us change the narrative and contribute to this initiative.
Fantastic. I know that there was another comment here, and then I have to put you on the spot. I'm so sorry, but there's the leaders of the Hispanic most important organizations are here. Dr. Juan Andrade, Thomas Sabino, Damian Rivera, Patricia Mota. Can I just have your commitment on hands that you could just feel comfortable distributing these to your networks? Can I get everyone that has a network and a membership, can I get hands up to share these in your newsletters and in everything? And I hope that Gerard is taking note and everybody's passing that on. That's I think that one of the most important parts, if we can just share around with our networks and our social. Perfect. We're going to be kicked out in any second. So I think that while we put the slide on the funding, and I'm not going to put anybody on the spot on this one because this is something that probably you can't do, any last 3 comments from anyone on these for Pepe Aguilar or myself on just getting guidance on what else can we do, what else can we provide so that we are, crowdsourcing correctly?
Added a small point in terms of inclusion and the stories. I think it's important to maybe as the storytelling part, the storytelling component, to clarify what are the role models we want to showcase and bring some of those grassroots stories, right? Showcase our hard workers, get stars from the service industry. There's nothing bad to start there, right? Because here I feel we're really privileged. We already had background in the language. So storytelling that is about how did you overcome these barriers, because we don't want people that already did it, or maybe a storytelling about how are you overcoming these barriers, because I think that's our story, right? Our story is about that. So make sure we have not only those that already did it, but those that are on the way to do it.
Great. We're taking notes. Gerard, you're taking notes about that. Please.
One of the communities that has the most energy are students, and I think we want to capitalize on their energy. There's thousands, millions of students around the U.S. who would gladly, take the Hispanic Star and diffuse it into their networks, diffuse it in the places they're working, living, their friends, families, right, neighbors. So I think establishing some sort of program where they can create chapters, or in existing organizations, put the Hispanic Star seal of approval, right? So, getting some materials ready for students, and then begin deploying them at universities.
Fantastic.
My name is Brad Namdar. I own an art house. I own a candle and decor company. I'm non-Hispanic, and I'm an ally of your constituency.
Thank you.
Yeah, big supporter. But one thing that I think that some constructive feedback that I think is there's a lot of people from the ages I've seen from 22 to 30 that are here, and the average age is 28 for the female Hispanic constituency. I think that being able to provide from the top leadership levels mentorship programs to those kids first to keep it going and cycling and breaking out in sessions with them is extremely important, because we need to mentor those kids to help mentor the younger kids and keep that cycle going. So I'd like to see that. I think it would be good and beneficial.
We're taking notes. Yes. And then we're going to have 2 comments here, and then we're going to close. Yes. Yeah. Let it turn red. There you go. Go on.
Hello, my name is Minue Yoshida. I'm the owner of Yoshida Consulting, and what I do in my consultancy is give sessions on talent development and public speaking coaching. So I offer my services. I volunteer them to both of you. In case you have people that want to do it and just need a few skills to develop, to be in front of other people. So I donate that to you and your organization.
You need public speaking training for Hispanic stars?
Absolutely, because there's a lot of people that might feel commitment. The calling, but they might lack that.
Perfect.
And just a few, then I have a challenge for all of us here today. We sometimes are preaching to the choir because we all know each other. My challenge is that next time we bring a +1 that is not Latino, because if we want to move the needle, we need to bring the people that are not already passionate and involved as we are. If we bring just one, we're going to triplicate this.
You got it. And we're going to do that as part of the, I think that as part of the briefing book, we have to do that. Not only embrace the Hispanic Star yourself, but have a non-Hispanic embrace the Hispanic Star. I think that's a great challenge. 2 more comments here, and we're closing. Yes.
Claudia, thank you so much for everything you do for us. And my name is Alfredo Sandoval. I work with professional athletes, and one of the platforms that we have is with the NBA Players Association. We do the retreat every February during the All-Star. So we have 450 NBA players that come to the Bahamas, and we host them with millions of presence in social media, Twitter, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. I'm committed. I'm in.
Yes, we love it. Thank you so much.
And I'm in with everyone. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yes. The last comment, make it a good one.
It's coming. Okay, here you go. Yeah, so I'm here. I just wanted to make a note. This is fantastic, but I just think we need as well to think how to make the Hispanic stars in healthcare. I work at the Somar Squibb pharmaceutical company. There is a big gap in healthcare with physicians, healthcare providers, and we needed to make sure they own these and they help their patients as well. We know all the Hispanic patients, Latino patients have a much different outcomes, so all the social determinants of health that impact those patients. So we need to make sure those leaders on that healthcare arena, they own these and they are responsible as well for their patients and for their patients' outcomes.
Are you Brazilian?
I am.
That's my commitment. That's my pledge. My request for you. Can you help bring Brazilians to the equation, because that's the one group that is the most resistant of all? Can you commit to working with us on that?
Yes, and that's why at BMS I am the lead for OLA, and that's why I applied for this job and I got this job. I'm like, yes, we as Brazilians, we need to we are Latinos and we need to be
bring
unified.
them on board.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We will literally, I know that I see a number of hands. We will literally have to close down now. I just want to have, again, a round of applause for Pepe Aguilar and this incredible, incredible commitment that you guys have done. Thank you so much. Register, send us your pledges. Let's actually stay connected. This is a community that can make it happen. And thank you so much for being here in the second Hispanic Leadership Summit. See you next year.